Hey, well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome on another Saturday night. I just want to make sure that I can be heard properly. Well, today is another night of talking sick. And before we go any further, ladies and gentlemen, on this 1st of October 2022, uh, Black History Month as well, that is something I need to say. But the most important thing on Saturday night talking sick, and the question is, what are you drinking? Yeah, here we go. You can see that my displays have all these different fruits because tonight is a health night. We're talking health. There it is. Tonight is a health night, so I'm drinking fruit juices. uh, no wine or anything of that nature. And for those on Instagram, we should be having a very interesting discussion tonight with Mr. Tony Kelly, diabetes ambassador. We're going to talk about diabetes. Diabetes, that is something which is very important that men, not just men, I would just say men a while ago, that people should be aware of. One of the reasons why I said men, because I was thinking also of prostate. So we're not going to touch on prostate tonight. We're going to touch on diabetes. And on the second half, we're going to talk on mental health. All being well, we should be, not all being well, we should be having Miss Suzette Buchanan, who's the CEO of Bellevue Hospital in Jamaica that deal with mental health issues. Thank you, Max and Amanda, for coming on. Much appreciated. And as well, I always say to persons, what are you drinking? I'm just having water tonight, water and crystal punch, and we'll have some fruit juices. Before going any further as well, you must have heard me talking about the passport immigration citizenship association in Jamaica, agency in Jamaica, which is coming to the UK. As you can see the details there, they are here starting Monday, the 3rd to the 4th. They're going to be in Birmingham at Legacy Center of Excellence, 144 Potters Lane, Birmingham B64UU, United Kingdom. And from the 6th to the 8th, they'll be in London at Lewisham, where persons you can renew your adult passport, renew all your children passport, lost, stolen, damaged, adult, citizen by descent, citizenship by marriage, unconditional landing, transfer, photos, £15. So that's going to be something which is happening there. So if you want to get your passport at a one stop, you can go there, mark you at the same time. You can still do that. Even when they leave, you can do that there online, or even with the Jamaican High Commission. Or if you're in mainland Europe, you can go to your consulate, which is another way that it can be done. So, but it's like a one-stop way you can do it. So, yeah. So you check that out as well. And of course, Mr. Mark Golding will be here, lead of the opposition, going to be here from the 6th, 6th to the 7th. 6th to the 8th, actually, 6th to 7th in London, and October 8th in Birmingham as well. I want to also make note of Delano Franklin, who has been on my show a couple of times, and a good friend of mine. He's not well, and he's in Jamaica, and he needs some blood. He's got a rare sickness, so persons who can actually support him in the sense of giving blood, please do that as well. Let's support each other as much as possible. The crisis in the UK, as we all know, is the gas and electric. That is something which is touching the core of most persons, every single person somehow feeling it. And the government today, to the 1st of October, they said that there's a £400 that everybody in the UK is going to get in order to somewhat alleviate their, the cost of the electric and the gas that they utilize in their house. The pound, as we know in Jamaica, the pound, when you go to Jamaica, the pound is always very strong. And so when people from England come to Jamaica, they say the pound is very strong. Yeah, the English people come with the pound, but the pound is almost on the same level as the US. When the chancellor made a statement recently, the pound somehow got carried away, but it is rebounded back to 1.12. So 1.12 US dollar, you can get a pound. So it's not much that different. So the pound is not that strong. So we'll see how that happens, and that is going to affect many things, ladies and gentlemen. So that's really which is happening. Birmingham, you have the Conservative Conference, which starts tomorrow for a few days. That is supposed to be something very interesting because somehow the Prime Minister will be dealing with her not cabinet, but her members of parliament, her team down there, to see if they can somewhat have the answer to get the nation going. Get the nation going. But for tonight, ladies and gentlemen, for tonight, let's talk diabetes. Okay? And that's Mr. Tony Kelly. So Tony Kelly, who is going to be coming on tonight. Tony Kelly, very seasoned guy. And one of the things about Mr. Kelly, and I just read it, British born, raised in Jamaica, returned to England 1979, lived in Birmingham with his family ever since. You should know his daughter, Abigail Kelly. She has a powerful soprano voice. I don't know if you guys know, lots of black people also into soprano, and I've interviewed her already. Tony wrote monthly articles for Free Phoenix Black newspaper for 3 years now, writes bi-monthly on a range of topics for online publication, caribdirect.com, and involved in many other activities. Tony's voice will always be heard on things of poignant issues in the community, but most predominantly on diabetes. I must say that I was a few years ago, I think just before COVID or just at the start of COVID, they said that I was pre-diabetic. So I started just at that time, my walking in the park. And when the doctor said that to me, I said, hang on a second, let me just really push this walking more, this exercise. Anybody who follows my walk and talk motivation, one of the motivating factor, one of the why, there's always a why. One of the why factor was because I wanted to counteract diabetes, counteract anything. Because during the COVID period, one of the things that we always heard about is the underlying sicknesses. So I said, let me counteract it, let me push against it. And the last time I went to the doctor said, I don't know what you're doing, but keep doing what you're doing. He says, you're in the clear, but just don't slack back, So, I cut off the cake and a lot of things. But listen, let me just bring in Mr. Kelly from Birmingham and see what he has to say. Maybe he's at the Conservative Conference. Are you at the Conservative Conference?
No, not at all, Sylbourne, not at all.
Well, are you too good enough for the Conservatives? What's going on?
Exactly. I'll leave them. That's for another time. We'll have that debate some other time. But no, on a serious note, I love your story. I love how you, knowing how black people are 2 to 4 times more likely to develop type 2 diabetes. So we're predisposed to it because of our DNA or our genetics or our metabolism. You made the lifestyle changes, the behavioral changes, and that's to be applauded. And I wish more people, especially black men, would take on board what you have done by doing movement. In Jamaica, they call it Jamaica Moves. Movement. Instead of just sitting on our proverbial, what we're talking about, our backside, getting up there and doing. And I see you most mornings doing your walk, and you're there showing that it can be done.
Yes.
You're leading by example. And your doctor is right in saying, whatever you've been doing, keep on doing it.
Mm.
Keep on doing it. The movement, the physical activity. Some
Yeah.
people in Sylbourne like to use the word exercise. I've
Yes.
been doing this as a diabetes ambassador for 10.5 years now. I
Mm.
remember when I used it in the early days, and a woman in a wheelchair said to me, "So, Tony, so Mr. Kelly, are you saying to me I must go to the gym?" Because the word exercise does conjure up images that the person needs to go to the gym. So I say
Ah.
physical activity, physical activity. You don't need no lycra. You can do it in the comfort of your home.
Yeah.
Okay? It's
Yes. Yeah.
about movement. It's about walking up the stairs, climbing the stairs, get the kids off the PlayStation and the Game Boy and the this,
Yes.
and let them go and play hockey or football or rounders or whatever it is at the park.
Mm.
Walking the dog. Um, in terms of the bus stop, instead of coming off at the bus stop, you usually come off at the stop before or the
Yeah.
stop after, and
Yes.
walk briskly. And I like how you're going there because you're also getting a lot of fresh air into your lungs
I
when you're
tell you,
doing the walking.
Tony, I tell you, the fresh air, because a part of it as well is at times you can stop and just breathe
Take
in,
it deep.
breathe out, and get
Absolutely.
those toxins off from the natural.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hmm. I so applaud you. I take my hat off to you because I lead by example by doing all
Yeah.
the various things that I do. I do Pilates, I do yoga, I do acrobics,
You
I,
swimming. That's you
I
swimming.
do swimming.
Yes.
Linford Christie learned to swim 3 years ago. Oh, open water swimming. And I thought if it's good enough for Linford Christie, and all your viewers will know who Linford Christie is, I
Yes.
say
Yes.
it's good enough for Tony Kelly. Now, when I was growing up in Jamaica, I was my grandmother's favorite grandchild. And she
Mm.
would say, "No, no, no, you can't go to the beach. You can't go to the river. You will drown. You will drown." And I never learned to swim. There is
Uh,
this myth that black people can't swim. Linford Christie can swim. Tony Kelly has been moved from beginners classes where I was learning to
yes.
intermediary. And they say,
Yes.
"Oh my God, you've really taken well to this." So I don't believe in this myth or this misconception that black people can't swim. We need to go and try it.
Only
And
my
if you
sister.
want
Only my
swimming,
sister.
get
Only my
yourself,
sister. Yeah.
yes.
I'm embarrassing my sister. Only my sister that jump on the water when the water come on the land, and she jump on it and say she swim.
No, seriously, she must learn to swim. It's never too late for a shower of rain. And if I have
Yes.
managed to do it, I'm in my 60s now and I've managed to do it. I also go to a Zumba class. And some of
Yes.
the men on this listening in will say,
Mm.
"Man, going to a Zumba class, that is
Mm.
not my concern. I am there for the fitness, for toning up my body for the fitness." In Jamaica, I saw firsthand. I'm British born, but grew up in Jamaica. And I saw firsthand, starting from the top, relatives of mine, strokes,
Yes.
blindness, heart attacks,
Mm.
kidney failure, lower limb amputations, which is chopping off of toes and feet, and then some dying prematurely in Jamaica would have said gone too soon.
These are
All
the these are the
diabetes
effects of diabetes.
complications.
Well,
Those are the complications. And,
well,
and,
before,
and I'm passionate about this.
yeah,
I'm getting this message out there, hopefully, amongst African, Caribbean, Asian people, and white working class people as well, and saying, listen, make the lifestyle changes, make them the behavioral changes to keep the complications at bay. Diabetes itself isn't the issue, it's the complications from it. So I've
right,
had 18 years, Sylbourne. I have never, looking you in the eye,
mm,
never taken a tablet, a potion, a pill. Never. Because I'm constantly on the move, on the go. And that is what I want. I want listeners to stop saying, Yemen may come. And Christmas, Easter, Ramadan, and Independence come. And they still not get off their proverbial to do the things. And
yes,
also to start eating healthily. Because what your listeners and viewers need to remember is all starchy food breaks down into your body into glucose or sugar. Same thing, glucose or sugar. So when they say they're going to give up the sweet cake and the donut and the ice cream and the syrup and the condensed milk, to a point, that's fine.
yes,
But remember, all starchy food, carbohydrates. So we're talking bread, rice, potato, yam, all of those which have energy for energy break down into your body into glucose or sugar. So we need to go for more fruits and vegetables. So
All right.
Sylvan used to
Yeah.
love like 8, 9 tablespoons of rice and peas, you know.
Mm.
Not anymore.
All
Not
right.
anymore.
Let's answer this question that Tony asking this question. Tony, what causes diabetes? This is Scotty. Scotty, one of what causes
Scotty,
diabetes? Yeah.
Scotty and the other listeners, this is it. We have a 6-inch gland from the navel string on one side in our belly or tummy. 6-inch gland called the pancreas. It makes the hormone insulin. Without insulin, you will die. You cannot survive without insulin. So it regulates the blood glucose or blood sugar, so from basically what you've ate or drank. Okay? Now, some people have type 1. 8% of people with diabetes have type 1. That is when the pancreas packs in totally, doesn't work at all. And that
Yeah.
has nothing to do with ethnicity, size, gender, or anything like that.
Yeah.
90% of people with diabetes have type 2. And the bulk of those who have it is either hereditary, runs in the family, or they have too much weight, too much fat around the pancreas, which is preventing the pancreas from doing what it should do naturally. So all this midriff around here, all this whole heap of weight around here, this fat,
Mm.
we need to get rid of it. But you also need to bear in mind that there's some people who are skinny. I go back to saying in Jamaica, we would have said mager, who can also,
Or
as skinny as a
kukumkum.
pig,
Or
can
kukumkum.
can also develop type 2 diabetes
Yeah.
because the fat can end up, although they're slim, going around the pancreas and the liver. So we have to give God thanks to a man named Sir Frederick Banting, a doctor in Canada, 100 years ago last year. And we always celebrate his birthday, the 14th of November, World Diabetes Day.
Yeah.
He noticed a meager dog outside. And with his French student, what they did, they made this concoction, just like how Alexander Fleming discovered penicillin. Sir Frederick Banting made this concoction of insulin, man made or synthetic,
Mm.
injected it into this meager dog, and the dog started making a remarkable recovery. That was how insulin, man made or synthetic insulin, was discovered. So some people, all those with type 1 have to inject insulin three
Oh
times
wow.
a day, must, to keep them alive, or wear an insulin
Wow.
pump strapped to their body. With
Wow.
type 2, some people are able to not go on any medication like me, and some people lead such a good life that they manage to reverse the diabetes or it goes into remission. But most people, and I'm glad you mentioned at the very start of the program, you were pre-diabetes, borderline, and you
Yes.
made the lifestyle changes or the
Instantly.
behavioral changes. And
Mm.
that's what I want us as black people in particular to start doing. They say, oh, Tony, the food too nice. Make me have to eat the food. Portion sizes. Cut down on the whole heap of portion sizes. And as
But
for red meat,
yeah.
as a man, we should be eating less red meat because I'll tell you for nothing, red meat is the main cause of prostate cancer in men.
Wow.
And black men are 2 to 4 times more likely to develop prostate cancer. I know I digress, but I bring it into the equation as well because it's
Yeah.
also important. And it is one of the easiest cancers to cure if caught early.
Early. And I mentioned it earlier when I started to say tonight is focus on diabetes and mental health. However, prostate, because I said men, and then I said sorry, I didn't mean men only because diabetes is for everyone, but
Diabetes is for everyone. That's
for
true.
prostate is more focused on men.
That's correct.
So in Jamaica, Tony, and I recall growing up in high school, York Castle High
Mhm.
School in Brownstown, and we're going down and we always love the sweet stuff, going on to Spice and Nice, always have those sweet
Mhm.
pastry. I
Mhm.
mean, isn't that we're going to talk about your trip to Jamaica, but isn't that a setup for where we are now, where it
Yes,
started from early days?
it
Is
started from early childhood. That is
is
correct.
there any training to sort of counteract that for the healthy thinking, healthy eating early?
Yes, yes. Um, I would like the schools to go back to doing simple, basic home economics. When I
Mm,
was growing up in Jamaica, I grew up in a very middle class family with my aunt, Mrs. Watson. So we had helpers and maids and servants. Every time I made a beeline to the kitchen, they used to say to me, go take your book. Gal picnic. Or a girl must be in the kitchen learning to cook. Boys are not supposed to be in the kitchen. That's the era I was brought up in the 60s. So, having said that, I could not even boil an egg. I went on to Micro Teachers College. I went on to university. I could not cook to save my life. But my daughter in 2009 said this has got to stop. You can't have all the women living in the household. You're the one man, and you just sit down and everybody lord and cook for you. So she gave me for that Christmas in 2009 a set of Caribbean cookery classes. And I'm urging the men on this who are listening to this program, if you can't cook, won't cook, you must learn to cook. More than every day or every second day, you're going down to the fast food, what I call the junk food, fast food,
Yeah.
junk food takeaway, where they're putting in so much oil in there and so much sugar in there and so much salt. Learn basic cooking. And
Mm.
it's got to start from school in home economics, which we used to have to do
Yeah.
eventually at college, and woodwork. And there was no distinction. The boys and the girls had to do both. So you're going back to saying you are eating all these sweet things. Too
Mm.
much of one thing, my grandmother used to say,
Good
is
for enough.
good for nothing. It's a
Mm.
well-known Jamaican proverbial saying, and
Yeah.
it applies in now and again. I'm not stopping anybody from having a treat now and again.
Yeah.
But you see what
Or
we call
fruitcake. Or
food.
fruitcake. I know. I stopped my fruitcake now though. I know. I see during COVID period when they said how did you cope? I said I ate cake. I ate cake. And when I was diagnosed pre-diabetic, I had to stop and I called the lady that makes the cake. I said, "Boy, our daddy was mash up. No more cake."
No, no, no cake. You can you see you can have the cake, but
Yeah.
what you need to do is burn up the calories by doing physical activity. So
Right.
all of that cake that you've taken in, all of that bun, that ice cream, that bulla, the patty, what have you, that you've taken into your system, if you don't burn up the calories, you will pile on the pounds. And that is when the pancreas is not able to do what I said earlier, produce the insulin, which is supposed to produce to regulate what goes around the body. So one needs to make sure, you do the Zumba, the Pilates. And I must mention for the listeners, social prescribing. Instead of going to the GP, what we know as a doctor, and then immediately the prescription. They themselves, the doctors, are now into what we call the buzzwords social prescribing. So, in most doctors' surgeries, you have a social prescriber. That is somebody who will sit down the patient and say, you're borderline, you're pre-diabetes, we need to give you, and this is on the doctor's budget, not on your budget. You need to
Yes.
go to the gym, or you need to do have an allotment, or you need to do Zumba or Pilates, or do running, or take up a sport or an activity which will keep the blood ticking over, heart ticking over, making sure you're doing physical activity. And that's what it's about. Movement. The sedentary couch potato lifestyle. We as black people have got to cut that out and be doing things. For instance, the television. When I
Yes.
came in 1979, the only four channels were BBC One, BBC Two, ITV. They didn't even have Channel 4 yet. And every time you needed to change a channel, you'd get up off your proverbial and you'd go over and you'd change the channel or put it the volume up or down. Now all I hear is beep, 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 100. You know what you do for me? And I'm serious. Hide the remote control or
Now,
put dead batteries in it or take out the batteries. And if you have to get up from your seat, the comfort of your seat, 4 or 5 times in the hour to change the channel, put the volume up or down, you have done some movement. I
mm.
am all for movement. Some people say, Tony, you're Mr. Motivator the second. You remember him?
Yes. Come on, move that twist, move that
Yes,
twist.
come on. In the early morning, they would have the Green Goddess on BBC, and he
Yeah.
was on ITV. And I actually do. I do, Sylbourne, 150 community events per year, totally free to any communities, and knock on Gurdwaras, mosques, churches, temples, residential homes. And Tony Kelly does not take no for an answer. Even when they tell me, oh, no, no, we don't wish you. And then by the time they see me in flow, they can't get enough of me. They said 3 months that you got to come back again. Because the audience or the congregation or the residents loved you to bits. You really just keep it real. You're using the Jamaican vernacular, the Jamaican language. People, we get you. We understand you. Because I don't speak with a hot potato in my mouth, So it flows across and people don't understand what I'm talking about. I
But
keep
Tony,
it real.
but Tony, what you have used to your credit and to your advantage to counteract everything is that you are very active in being a diabetes ambassador. So
That's
therefore, you
correct.
have to be on the go.
That's
So,
correct.
so in a way, while you're educating us and telling people about it, you're also capitalizing on it because you can't stay still now.
Yes, indeed. I'm in demand. I really am in demand. I was in Dominica in 2018. They invited me there because Dominica has a problem in terms of sight loss, and I want the listeners to hear this loud and clear. Some people in their 50s, 60s, and so they're having the blurred vision and they're not seeing the print properly or not
Mm.
seeing what's on the screen properly, and then they say to me, "Oh, it's my sight failing." It
Yes,
is the diabetes having its wicked way at the back of the eyes, which is causing you to eventually have blurred vision and go blind. So
that
the
is why
first,
I've been twice to the eye people to check.
that's correct. That yes,
Yes, yes,
the
yes.
four T's: T for tired, T
Mm.
for toilet. These are the classic symptoms of diabetes: T for tired, T for toilet, T for thirsty, and T for thinner. And on top of it, blurred vision and slow healing of cuts and wounds. As
Yes.
you rightly said, I'm going later on to Jamaica and Barbados. Barbados has the highest rate in the Caribbean of lower limb amputations from diabetes because of
Wow.
foot sores and ulcers and so on. People not having proper care of their feet, foot care.
Is that
In
is that
Dominica,
and that's one of the reasons why, because I just got a message from my GP
mhm.
nurse said to book in my feet. They do a feet
Yes, yes,
appointment
you have
as
to
well.
check.
Yes,
So
yes,
that the nerve endings have to be checked. And I
yes,
beg people, even if you're on the lovely beaches in the Caribbean or Africa or Asia, do not walk around barefoot, because if a marker, a thorn, a needle, or a pin goes into your foot and you're having nerve issues and you're not feeling it, it stays in there and festers, and then
yes.
you end up having to have your toes or feet amputated. And that's not a good thing.
So when we normally hear Makajukia, even though we
Yes.
always joke about it, but Makajukia have some implications
Yeah,
when it
it,
comes
it,
to
it
that.
does indeed, indeed. I like all these Jamaican sayings you're coming out with,
Yeah, man,
Sylbourne.
I'm come from Ochi, I'm a Ochi man.
Exactly. I do use them just like that especially if I'm with a Caribbean audience and they say, "My gosh, I haven't heard some of these for years. I thought
Yes,
you say you're born in Britain." I said, "Born in Britain, but grew up in Jamaica. So I've
yeah,
seen the best of both worlds. So
yeah.
nobody can fool Tony Kelly."
So tell us about the tell us, give us an idea, because you're once the diabetes champion.
Mhm.
If that's your right, is that the right one? Right? You can
Diabetes
no,
ambassador.
no, you're ambassador now, but you're a champion before.
Yes, I started off as a champion.
Yeah, yeah,
How this thing started, as I
yeah.
say, my wife noticed the four key symptoms, and she noticed especially I was getting up 3 or 4 times during the night.
Sorry. One second, Tony.
Go on.
Lester, can you hear me? Okay, I thought a guest was coming in. Okay, keep talking, Tony. Yeah,
Yes,
sorry.
my wife noticed the four key symptoms, but especially the getting up at night to use the toilet. And she said, "Something's wrong with you, something's wrong with you." But typical of most men, I was one of those men.
Yeah,
Men are in denial, constantly in denial. They won't own up. They bury their hand like the ostrich does at the first sign of danger. The ostrich buries its head in the sand.
yeah,
Men do that. And
yeah.
I was one of those. And she kept saying, "Something's wrong with you, something's wrong with you." Eventually, I could take the nagging no more. And she's heard me speak so many times. She said, "Yes, I was nagging you." I took a sample of urine to my doctor before any breakfast or anything early morning. And she put the dipstick in 18 years, this Christmas, 19 years. And she said, "Tony, Mr. Kelly, you have glucose or sugar in your urine, and it's supposed to be none. But she says for final analysis, I'll send off a sample of your blood to the lab and it will give a better result. And it came back as an early Christmas present 19 years ago this Christmas that I have type 2 diabetes. I had two choices. Do I curl up into a ball and die and still eat the whole heap of rice and peas and yam
and keep getting
and
insulin.
or do I make and then end up going on insulin, which I have to inject 3 times a day? Some people
Yeah.
do. And I thought, no, I've seen the suffering firsthand in Jamaica. So I had that wake up call and thought, no, I'm not going there. I've got a wife, I've got a daughter, I've got a son in law. I need to be around to see them and be part of a family and so on. So I made the lifestyle changes. It's not easy, but it can be done. Some people said to me, Lord Tony, the food in the Jamaica, it's sweet and nice, you see. I say, yes, but you need to look at portion sizes. You need to go down the route of more vegetables. And people say, well, fruits are sweet. Yes, within reason. But even if you're having the mangoes, you go out and you do some physical activity after you've had the mangoes.
So like,
You know?
like I got to say, I show my banana here. So it's my banana.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's good for you. Yes. Uh-huh. And one thing which is good for you, which some people find not understanding why it is,
Yeah.
sweet potato. Sweet potato is far better than what we in Jamaica would call Irish potato. Because I know you have some people on here who are from Jamaica and know about what we call Irish potato or white potato. Sweet potato has a low glycemic index and is far better for you. Things like susumba, things like ladies' fingers or okra, things like kale, callaloo, pop chow. All these are rabbit food. When I was growing up in Jamaica, Sylbourne, my grandmother used to have to beat me to eat those food. And I used to say, no, 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 I can't eat that. And she'd say, you're not leaving the dinner table until you've ate your vegetable.
Yes.
Now, what is on our plate a lot? A lot of the vegetables that I never used to want to eat as a child because the vegetables are far better for you. As is trying to drink 2 liters of water per day.
Yes.
It
Yes.
flushes out the toxins and poisons from your body. That's what the job of the kidney is about. I'm only just giving you a brief synopsis here because the sessions I do, and anybody can get me at Tony Kelly Diabetes, at hotmail.com, an hour and a half session. And when I'm done with you, you say, yes, I'm good to go. If Tony Kelly can do it, I must also take it on board and make the changes that should happen so that I can see my children, the grandchildren, the nieces and nephews, my wife, my partner, so on. And all this thing of, oh no, it's too hard or so on. Habits are easy to make, but hard to break. Okay?
And your number is the 0121. You want that up?
Yes, that can go up. We have a second landline at home. 0121 686 0440. 0121 Birmingham number 686 0440 and the email tonykellydiabetes at hotmail.com. Both of them are on the screen there now.
Yes.
If you can get in touch with me. As you rightly said at the beginning, I'm off to Jamaica soon. During the lockdown period, what happened, Sylbourne? I did a lot of webinars, Zooms and Teams in Africa and in the States, in Canada, and in the Caribbean. And they said, come over to Macedonia and help us. You need it out here because you just keep it real and you're talking from your lived experience. You cannot deny a person their lived experience, their reality. So with that in mind, since March, I've been planning and I go off to Jamaica because the whole of the Caribbean celebrates Caribbean Diabetes Month in November.
In November,
in November, always in November. So I start off in Jamaica, hit the ground running from the 1st of November. I'm going to 8 parishes, including the lovely parish of St. Anne, the Garden Parish.
Yes. You go watch it.
I can't remember off the top, but I know I'm going to St. Thomas, St. Mary, St. Anne, Kingston, St. Andrew, Manchester, Clarendon, and St. Catherine. The only parishes I'm not doing is the western side because you can't do so much, and it's just me alone. And I have my chauffeur, and he'll be taking me to there, and they're putting on health trade.
Yeah. Once. Yes, sir. We're getting a feedback on that.
You getting the feedback?
Somebody
Yes,
just joined us. I think it's because he joined us.
If you take off your earphone or something like that.
Is it better now?
It's better now.
Okay.
Yes,
And
sir.
then
Good night, Mr. Kelly. You have a very famous name. I thought it was CD Kelly coming now, but it's not CD Kelly. So
and you are sorry, I don't know.
I said I thought when I saw the poster earlier, I thought it was CD Kelly coming on. You don't know of that person?
No, I don't know CD Kelly.
Oh, Tony Kelly. He's one of the biggest producers out of Jamaica.
All right. Okay. All right. He's probably been named after me because I'm sure he's not as great as I am. Yeah?
No, I actually believe he was because you're advanced than he is. Not call you old, but you're advanced.
Right. I'm a senior citizen. I'm an elder. But no, on a serious note,
Yes.
after I leave Jamaica, I'm there from. I go from October, but I start to hit the ground running 1st of November in these parishes, and then I go on to Barbados. Now, Barbados want me there in time for World Diabetes Day on the 14th of November because they have the John Grace Memorial Lecture. It's an annual lecture, and they said, moi, Tony Kelly, has to do the lecture because they saw me during lockdown and they said, you're what we need out here. Because Barbados, as I said earlier, has a major problem with lower limb, feet and toe amputations. So, and then they have a lovely program of events. I have to, in honesty, say, the program of events in Barbados is 8-9 times better than the program of events in Jamaica. You're going on this television station. You're gonna go speak to these people at this place. You're gonna go on the radio. You're going to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. A very varied, wonderful program. I haven't been to Barbados before, so I'm really looking forward to what they're planning in terms of their hospitality and so on.
So do you think Jamaica, even though Barbados somewhat is higher in the sense of diabetes, do you think Jamaica also needs more input?
Absolutely, they need a wake up call in Jamaica. They are high in other areas because there's the eyes and there's the strokes and then there's the heart attacks and then of course associated with diabetes is high cholesterol and high blood pressure. A lot of black people have high blood pressure and high cholesterol. They all go hand in hand, and apart from them going hand in hand, it's not doing any physical activity. I talk about listen, when I was growing up as a child in Jamaica, we didn't take taxi or bus or whatever have school run. We walk 2 miles to school and we go home for lunch and we come back again and we tie out the goat and the sheep and the cow and the pig before we go to school. So people now have this sort of very lazy life. I mentioned about the TV. There's a thing called Siri and Alexa.
Yes.
You must know. Alexa, turn on the television. Alexa, turn off the radio. Alexa, open the windows. Get up and open the windows, draw the curtains, turn on the television, turn on the radio, so on. Why have we allowed modern technology to start ruling our lives? So our heart, which is supposed to be there pumping up the blood, is no longer pumping. Alexa, do this. Siri, do that. Come on.
Let me ask. Let's come in. What's your take on what Mr. Kelly has been saying?
First of all, I think Mr. Kelly has a microphone or a bug in my house. It is today. I was talking to my wife about the same thing. Alexa, what is the temperature outside? Mr. Open the window and look.
Exactly. Because you would have done some physical activity by doing that. Yes.
But Mr. Kelly, let me go back. I love the information, love your poise, but it's very difficult to compare Barbados and Jamaica. The landmass alone is vast, and the culture is also different. Yeah, Barbados have a more educated population per capita.
Yes, so, I totally agree with that.
So persons there consume information more, or valid information more. Also, news would go around a smaller demographic or geographical area quicker, right?
Yes.
But also, culture plays a big part in it. Like, I used to live in the inner cities of Jamaica, and there's a culture in the inner city where early in the morning the guys would get up and drink a beer, or they would drink rum and boom, and when you look at boom, I don't even know boom, the drink,
No, I don't
right?
know
It's a Red Bull. It's like Red Bull, but 10 times,
Okay.
but about 10 times more sweeter than Red Bull. But it's cheaper than Red Bull, so it's more accessible to people.
Yes.
So imagine drinking this in the morning, then they drink it in the afternoon, and they drink it in the evening. Right?
It's a recipe for disaster.
Exactly. You know, and also we were not, as men, we were not taught in the home or even in the society that we should go and do regular checkups.
Yes.
That we should take care of ourselves.
Yes.
We were not taught that, right? If something is wrong, right? Go pick piece of bush. Lad, man, you're a girl, man, you know? You're everything, you want to thank you.
Something like that.
Yes.
So go and check out our bodies to say our bodies are speaking to us what is wrong, you know? But also, we are not taught even in schools about our bodies. We are taught the biology, you know, but we are not talking. We talk about the health part of the body. So we are taught the biology, that what the arm do, the eyes do, the foot, whatever. But when we come on to the health and healthcare, right? Because even in the schools, the nutrition in the schools is bad.
Yes, I agree.
Very bad.
We have got a long way to go in terms of changing the habit of a lifetime and getting people to think differently. So this is where the likes of me, and probably you can come on board as well, need to be out there, bringing awareness into communities. I don't like the word education because it seems to suggest you're wanting people to go back to school. So I don't use education. I say raising awareness, health and well-being, diabetes awareness raising. And it can be done. I have learned so much. Sometimes people say to me, when I go on television programs or radio, but you sound like you're a doctor. I say, no. This is from going on the proper website, not the fake and false and phony websites, the proper legitimate legal websites, and learning about. We're now so knowledgeable with everything at our fingertips in terms of technology. There's nothing to stop people going and doing their research to know, well, what should I be eating? What should I be drinking? What sort of physical activity should I be doing, etc., in order to lead a healthy life? It's the same with, and your mental health coincides with your physical health. The two go hand in hand. If your physical health is doing well, the mental health will kick in as well in the same. Because so many people with diabetes end up suffering from depression. Lots of people with diabetes have depression.
Is it because of the impact of the diabetes, Tony?
Yes. They get into a rut and they think, oh my God, I'm on insulin, or I'm on metformin, or I've lost my toes, or I'm having to or my sight's going, or and all of that then has a negative impact on their whole outlook on life. And I'm saying you've got to be positive, you've got to go out there and do things to keep the complications at bay.
But Tony, let me interject here. What I have seen from in my family and from being around many parts of Jamaica, persons who are diagnosed with diabetes, they would still drink Coca-Cola.
Yes,
they would still eat the yam and the dashin, and they know that it's not good. But yesterday they take the insulin, and I've said to persons, you are canceling out the medication.
Yes.
Right. So why Jamaica rates are so high in diabetes is because of our diet and our lifestyle food. So persons who are known to be diabetic have persons buying them bad food or they themselves are going out and going to parties and drinking and doing all this type of stuff. So you see a lot of persons under the age of 50 having diabetes and dying early also from
Yes,
this because
that's a fact.
their lifestyle won't change.
Yes.
I posted a video earlier. A gentleman was speaking about some men who passed away in their 50s, early 50s, and they were listing a few of them, and they said hypertension, stroke, and while it wasn't mentioned prostate, while it wasn't mentioned diabetes, but these are all some of the factors that contribute to hypertension, isn't it?
Yes.
And it was saying all of them were black men, and all of them were celebrities, and it was saying that as men we need to really take care of ourselves, look after our bodies,
Yes.
really get out there and do exercise as much as possible. And the mental health, which we're going to talk about a little bit after, it is so crucial again, because we're seeing young men, I mean, in their 50s, passing away, Tony.
Yes.
But Sylbourne, when you look at the America, right, and when you look at the expenditure per year on alcohol consumption by ethnic groups, the black people in welcome Jody.
Welcome, Jody.
Welcome, Jody.
We're not international, Tony. We got Jamaica, we got
Welcome,
UK,
Jody.
we got Netherlands.
Good evening. Good evening.
We're not international, Tony. We got Jamaica, we got UK, we got. I'm getting a feedback. 1 second.
Jody feedback, man.
Jody, speak, Jody. Come to 10. Jody, say hi. How are you? Say hi to Tony. See if it's you having the feedback. Jody, speak, Jody. Okay.
I'm not hearing it, Jody.
It's gone.
Log out and come back again, or maybe get some headphones or something.
Or go down to Ocherias from Chilani. Sorry.
Just log out and come back again, Jody. We're not hearing you.
It was sounding okay a while ago, and then something happened. No.
Still not hear you.
Not hearing you at all.
Okay, keep talking. Sorry, let me just explain something to Tony. Tony, we got a round of guests that sometimes come at times, and we'll ask the questions. Okay, go Lester. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. So when you look at the black population is 13% of America's total population. But when you look at the expenditure in certain things, lifestyle-wise, right? So like alcohol, black people spend like $1.2 billion on alcohol, right? And it's almost double what white people spend in America, right? When you look at like fast food and stuff like that, we are double or almost triple times spending on fast food than the other ethnic counterparts. When you look at even flashy lifestyle, clothing, right? Nike, Air Jordan, $2.2 billion annually. When you look at Mercedes Benz, $1.2 billion. So the black population, their lifestyle on a whole is very, very dangerous to how they live. So they don't spend the money on healthy living. When you look in the United States, the counterpart of white women to black women who do Pilates, is it, Tony?
Pilates, yeah, Pilates.
Green juice, they got yoga, when you look at the ratio of white women to black women in these studios or gym, most of the time you'll see 1 or 2 black women, and the rest of the ethnic groups are either white or other ethnic groups. But as a black people, we do not take care of ourselves like that.
And,
right?
and sorry, Lester, were you finished? Yeah.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
And Tony, just before you go back to Lester, Shelly Ann Smith just posted something a while ago. Lifestyle is hard to change. You need to be introduced to healthier food at an earlier age. I am diabetic, she said, and I love the food I grew up on. So it's the same point I mentioned earlier, Tony. Growing up in Brownstone, where you got on to
you have the sky juice,
juice
and the gizzarda and the.
So what do you say to like what do you say like to Shelly Ann Smith there, and picking up back from what Lester said earlier?
It is a matter of discipline. Yes and no, this is what we were brought upon. But if you want to live a healthier life, lead live longer and be comfortable within yourself, our health is our wealth, and it is up to the individual. You can carry a horse to the water, you cannot make it drink. Now, I used to love all that sky juice and all of this ice cream and bun and donut and so on. But then I thought to myself, well, hang on here. That's going to drive me to an early grave. So I made the lifestyle changes and decided, well, I'm going to have to bring in vegetables more into the routine, fruits as well. I'm drinking a lot more water. I don't drink. This show is called Let's Talk and Sip, but I'm not.
What you drinking? What you drinking? You didn't tell us what you're drinking, Tony. We're drinking something.
For me, it's water, water, and more water. Trust me, it was one of the best liquids you can get. So all these people who like to go to the beer and the rum bar and places like that. I mean, I have people who I went to high school with in Jamaica. So many of them who have had various things as a result of eating unhealthily and drinking unhealthily. We
Yes.
have to go back, sadly, to basics and relook at. Listen, people back in the way back in time didn't have as much diabetes as there is now. The food, the artificial substances, the preservatives they're putting in the food, and also, as I said, the whole heap of starchy food and so on. Go back to basics and learn to cook at home. So you know how much sugar, how much
Yeah.
salt, if any, you're putting in the food, and how
Yes.
much oil you're putting in the food. And you boil, you bake, you grill, you steam, and you roast. Boil, bake, grill, steam, and roast. Less of the fires. Listen, before I finish here, I got to Jamaica some years ago. I went to Hellshire, and they're giving me this thing. I thought it was fried dumpling. And it's
Festival.
this thing called festival. Explain to me, what did Dickens you put in sugar in what was fried dumpling and calling it festival? Come
Me
on.
have some. Me have
Sugar?
some last. Me have some last night. I must say.
No, no, no,
My
no.
daughter said she didn't want it because it was too sweet.
No, 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 no. If you give me, I will throw it away. I
Jody,
find that insulting that people with lovely, lovely fried dumpling Johnny cake in some other areas of the Caribbean, they call it bakes. When they're going to add sugar to that,
yes.
it's not a recipe for the diabetes. Come
No,
on,
no.
people,
Let
wake
me
up.
bring in Jody. How are you, Jody?
I am not bad. Can you guys hear me now?
We can
Yeah.
hear you. Yes.
I think what
Jody,
happened-
thank you.
I had the video playing in the YouTube because I was listening to you guys and I didn't realize I didn't close it before logging on. So what happened is we're getting that feedback. Still not hear me?
Yeah. Jody, yeah, we can hear you. There's a little disturbance there at the same time, but keep talking. Keep talking, Jody, and say,
All right. Can you hear me clearer now that this is closer to my mouth?
yes.
All right. All right. So hi Tony.
Hello.
Nice to meet you. I listened to bits and pieces of what you were saying earlier. All right, so I'm a registered nurse and also diabetes educator, and I run a home care business in Jamaica, right?
Mhm.
And I heard everything you said, and by the book, it sounds great, but we have a culture in Jamaica that has to deal with we have this kind of laid back mentality when it comes to food. We like home cooked food. We like our Jamaican comfort food. And I think the problem I am having, or I have seen with my patients, is that because the healthcare system is so overwhelmed, when they are told that they are diabetic or pre-diabetic, and then sent to the nutritionist to give them a whole list of do not and do not take them through a transition process in helping them to fix their diets. And I that is the most important part of it that we've missed out on. So the system is not set up in a way where you can gradually consult them into getting into eating healthier. It's as simple. I got the diagnosis, and the nutritionist says, "Don't do this, don't do that," and it's like you're giving them no options, right? What I've found is that once we assess our clients, the ones that we have in home care, is that we usually look at their home surroundings, what can they afford, what are the things that are available to them, because they usually get a long list. I'm telling you, it's like a 4-sheet paper from the dietitian that says a whole lot of do nots and a small amount of what can be had, and that is a deterrent. And so the Jamaican them just say, all right, may I take your medication anyway? Me just go eat what I have. Not understanding that there are healthier options that they can have, and if they eat portions, that can also adjust their diet. And another issue is that they go on insulin. They're not taught properly how insulin body and how they should eat with their insulin. They're placed on the metformins and all the antidiabetic or assistive medications, and they're not taught how they work. And so these people start taking it for 2-3 days, and if their glucose doesn't improve, they get frustrated and they stop. Because how the medicines work, how the insulin work is not explained to them properly. And that is one of my personal concerns as a healthcare professional here, that we are not doing enough education. And as I said, it can be as a result of the burden on the system. But the other thing is individuals do not take that personalized responsibility to say, hey, I'm diabetic now, or I was diagnosed pre-diabetic. How do I get myself together? While they will Google all these videos and watch them, they will be on YouTube forever watching some crazy stuff that don't really contribute to the benefit of their lives. They will not go sit down and say, let me learn about diabetes, whether 1 or 2, or find out how is it that I can. There's no personal responsibility. The doctor give you the medication, the nutritionist said don't do this, don't do that, and they go home with that. Then they become depressed, they become overwhelmed, and they don't know how to deal with it properly.
Yes. So can I then just ask? You weren't there at the start of the program. Over here in Britain, the National Health Service is now big on social prescribing, whereby doctors have to allow pre-diabetes patients and diabetes patients to decide, oh, do you want to go to the gym out of their GP, their doctor's budget? Do you want to a course of swimming lessons? Do you want a course of Pilates classes or acrobics or line dancing or so on? Is that available to people in Jamaica so that they can look at how can I tone up myself, get my muscles in shape, get myself in shape, lose some of that weight? Is that available to them on the system out there? Social
Not
prescribing is called.
system. No, you would have to personally make that decision. Find a gym yourself, get yourself enrolled. I mean, it would be said as an option, but there is no follow-up to it. Do you understand? Even with kids in school right now, I know that we did our program a couple years ago trying to reduce the amount of sugar in some of the drinks that were available to our children. Like even the regular box drinks that we grew up on chubbies that we grew up on, there was a huge a few years ago because we realized an increase in the level of diabetes being diagnosed in children, especially at the primary level. And we had overweight, and they were trying to control those. No, I mean, just doing a drive with the drink companies to say reduce the amount of sugar because this is cheap and easily available to every Jamaican. Every Jamaican knows what about juices, no box, no chubby, right? And it is cheap. Now, I think we need to pay more attention though to the psychological, emotional man that has to deal with how do I know that I have to make these choices on my own. Why, for me personally, with my kids, it's been teaching them what are the side effects, teaching them from very young that hey, we have a family history of diabetes in our family, and while we as one generation does not have it, or fathers and mothers have it, aunts and uncles have it, I'm trying to prevent my children from having it, and so I am teaching them healthier lifestyles. But it's always an option when you teach it, how do you teach it?
Yeah, I want to come in here and just to say a couple of things. Is that Jody, we struggle to hear you, but we
Yeah,
got it.
feedback.
Yeah, it's not the feedback. It is a stuttering with your mic, so it's not clear. It's not like a feedback. It's a mic. But
Let
Tony,
me
I know you have to go
see if I
soon.
remove this without.
I know you have to go soon, Tony. But
Yes.
Tony, I'm going to make sure I give you the link for Jody. She's in the western side of Jamaica, which you say you're not going to see.
No, I'm not going to the western side of the island.
Maybe Jody can get you to come down to Chilon. You're in Duncan's, isn't it, Jody?
That's more northwest, right, Jody?
Okay,
We're not hearing her at
we're
all.
not hearing it now. Yeah, this is your thingy there. Yeah, the sound is poor. She's in Chilon in Duncan's. But Tony, if you say what you're saying, Tony, how long you have? Sorry, I know I said I didn't want to keep you more than an hour.
Well, all I would say, if people want to know, because some of the venues I'm going to, they're closed venues. They don't want anybody. So I have the itinerary done up. But if people want to contact me on the numbers that are going across the screen or the email address, I can tell them where I'll be at and which of the venues. I know one venue can hold quite a lot of people. One of the venues I'm going to, and they want bums on seats. I mentioned the 8 parishes that I'm going to go. Some in the morning, some in the afternoon. Giving with proper National Health Service approved PowerPoint slides and my experience as well. PowerPoint slides and my experience. There's
Yeah,
delay.
don't worry, I muted it. Keep talking,
Right.
Tony. Yeah.
And it would be good for people to come out and hear of the things that I try and encourage people to do. It's not a one glove fits sort of thing. Some people will fall off the wagon. Some people will fall off the bike and they get up and dust themselves. In the earlier days, I struggled. I'll be honest. But I've got it down to a T now where after 18 years of this medical condition, and I don't call it a disease, by the way. For me, I was told to call it a medical condition, although some people call it a non-communicable disease or an acute disease. Over time, I know, well, okay, I can only have bun and cheese at Easter and probably Independence, and that's it. And people say, Tony, are you for real? I say, well, I've got to think of my health. A lot of it is down to motivation and discipline.
Yeah.
Yes, Jody mentioned about some of the patients she has and advising and so on. But the person has to have a sense of inner discipline, self-discipline, and motivation. And then the enabling and the empowering, which comes from us as champions, ambassadors out there saying, hey, if I can do it, so can you.
But Tony, I'm picking up from Jody, and what I'm hearing is about the motivation and the why factor. What do you think can be some powerful triggers that get people to be motivated? For me, for my example is, I recognize that I've got my wife, I got my children, and I got my years ahead, and so therefore I have to do something. So I'm a motivator anyhow still. I'm motivated from within. So I just went bam, full bam. My why was very strong.
Yes.
But what is it for someone who, okay, Shelly-Ann, this is what Shelly-Ann said. Shelly-Ann said something on the side. She said she love her festival, man.
Yes.
She love her festival, and she went further. She said, it's the worst thing you can do is to tell me not to eat something because then I crave it.
Right. Okay. What did she used to eat before festival came on the scene? She certainly used to eat something else. So go back to eating that and possibly weaning off and cutting down on the festival. The festival is packed with sugar. And I don't care what anybody wants to say. Nobody.
Well, portions.
Sorry, Jody. What did you say, Jody? Portions?
How about portions?
Yes, we discussed portion sizes earlier in terms of.
Yeah, I think that is so. Rather than having 2 festivals with your jerk pork, I mean, like we like jerk pork and we like festival. So how about portions? I would say rather than totally count it out, I like to be realistic with my clients. Very, very realistic, because I know they're gonna cheat anyway. So rather than give them the option of totally counting it out, then I give them options. Like I had this client, for years it was her thing to have chocolate cake, diabetic uncontrolled. So I used her chocolate cake as her motivator, and I had to cut down what she was eating because she was having like a whole slice, which is more than 4 ounces, right? And that's dense chocolate cake because it's something they used to do in their family all the time. They made together. It was a bonding process for them. So what I did is I used it as a reward system. Once her glucose was controlled, then we were able to say, okay, you can have this amount of your chocolate cake, and it is only on this day at this time. And then we would watch her glucose. So there are just certain things about their diets. I mean, like I believe in the way we practice or care at our organization is that we want to improve people's qualities of life, and we do that no matter what stage of life they are, and we don't want to take away things that are emotional memories, family memories, and so we bear that in mind. Because if you think about, I think about sweet potato pudding, I think about my grandma. My grandma makes the best sweet potato pudding, and I know I can't have a whole slice of grandma's sweet potato pudding because my sugar level is just going to be too high. But do I do it where I have a whole half a sweet potato pudding just because I love sweet potato pudding? No, because I have learned that level of self-control.
Okay.
But that's what
thank
we
you.
need to teach.
Yeah. Tony, before you go to Vita Gale, how are you? Vita is from Washington, Tony. She's
Hello,
from Ochi. She's an Ochi girl.
Good afternoon.
From St.
Good
Anne.
afternoon, Mr. Kelly. It is such a pleasure to listen to you and to meet you, and the knowledge base that you are sharing. And just like Sylbourne, we grew up in Ochi, so therefore we are used to the sweets and culture. Hi, Jody. Beautiful. How are you, darling? So the fact is that, and I know you want to just do a time. That's my husband calling me. So I just have to let you know that Lester Gale, the one you just spoke, is my husband. He was talking about me when he talked about the Alexa. So I'm just like,
yes.
So I am the Alexa person. I am the, so
Right,
and my TVs,
That's-
if I don't have the remote, they can be turned on. So no excuse, but the fact is that culture-wise, the way we were raised and in Jamaica, it's becoming a factor because even now living in the United States, it's mandatory as far as with the company, because I'm also in the medical field. And the situation is that the insurance company, I have to have a dietitian. I have to go see my dietitian, and they do recommend the insurance pay for us for the gym. They pay, the company provide gym. So all this is being provided. It's a new way now in the United States that they're recognized. But at the same time, you have to be at a certain level for them to provide that for you.
That's for you, right?
So certain communities not going to have that. Even if they have the insurance, their insurance not going to pay for that. So those are some of the situations we, the African American, as they call us, the Black people, face in America.
Right.
So definitely that's what we are facing. But I admire you, and the culture wise, as far as you going out, putting it out there, I said maximum respect.
Thank you.
As we say in Jamaica, big up, because that's huge that you are doing that. And again, is another Jamaican stepping out there doing it. Because whether you're born in the UK or whatever, you're Jamaican raised,
yes,
you're Jamaican. Because it's an experience to be a Jamaican.
Jamaican, yes, I agree. Totally.
But at the same time, there's a lot of culture of us Jamaicans that we have that we need to let go. I live in an area where I don't get Jamaican food, but when I do reach Jamaica, I do not want any American food. And
why should you? Yes.
So this is the culture wise that we have to share. And I must say thanks to Sylbourne, because Sylbourne motivates me every morning. And then I have my pain in the what husband who tell me you have to get up out of the bed, you have to go walk.
Yes, you have to go and do
it. Support also when you have people that support you, to go do what needs to be done. It's not easy. It's not easy. And another thing I want to put out there, I know of a lot of people who are skinny or mager and still have diabetes.
Kukumkum. You mean kukumkum?
Put that out there.
Well, listen, guys, let's hear what Faye Bowen says. The most important thing is to practice self-control while at the same time develop the habit of drinking at least 2 liters per day. I think that's water.
Water.
Tony said to keep the body hydrated and flush out the toxins.
Mm-hmm.
Tony, I'm not going to keep you longer, but I got Miss Suzette Buchanan here. I don't know, Suzette, if you're here, can you tell us your thoughts on diabetes in Jamaica? If you're there.
Well, my thoughts on diabetes is that, well, I can tell you it's one of the what they call it's a non-communicable disease, and it is one that I would say needs there ought to be more attention paid to it. I take myself as an example. I have been diabetic for probably about a year, and I was not aware. And so there is a need for us to pay more attention as individuals. And there is a need. Diabetes so prevalent in Jamaica. We need to stop to get out of the practice of self-diagnosis, because that is what I was doing. Saying it was something else and not even making an attempt to do a diabetes test. So that is it. That's my piece, my bit on that.
Yes. And Tony, what's your last word before we?
Well, the ones especially in Jamaica, when I get there and start my thing. Remember my health disclaimer. I'm not a dietitian or a nurse or a doctor. I am relating my lived experience of 19 years this December with this condition without taking any medication whatsoever. So it's about pro-social modeling. That's the term that's used, whereby I'm leading by example and trying to get others to look at what they're doing, look at what they're not doing, or so on. And as I said, some people will fall off the wagon and come back on and so on. It's not a one size fit all. But I'm there to try and motivate. And people say to me, Tony, you do it very well. We get you. We understand you. You use the lingo, the language, because people say, yeah, you use the Jamaican language, the vernacular, the patois, call it what you made, the proverbs. And people say, yeah, I'd rather hear it from you, although, yes, you're not a health professional, because it's your lived experience. You cannot deny a person their lived reality, their lived experience. And as I said, back in Whitehall, St. Thomas, Jamaica, I saw all the signs, the strokes, the blindness, the heart attacks, the lower limb amputations, going to too many people's funerals in their 30s, 40s, 50s. And all they would say to me when I asked as an 8, 9, 10-year, what's the matter with them? They have a touch of sugar. They have a touch of sugar. They minimized and trivialized it. Oh, granny, uncle wants to have a touch of sugar. Huh?
They still do.
Yeah, well, there you go. So those who want to come and hear me speak and so on, yes, they're more than welcome to do. The numbers are there and the email addresses. Thanks for having me on the show. Thanks for meeting the rest of you there and for this discussion on diabetes. It could go on and on and on, but I know Sylbourne has other aspects of the show that he wants to deal with.
And Tony, and ladies and gentlemen, you can get hold of Tony at TonyKellyDiabetes@hotmail.com or telephone number 01216860440. And Tony will be in Jamaica, right? He's going to be in Kingston, St. Andrew, St. Mary, St. Thomas, St. Catherine, Clarendon, Manchester, and St. Anne before heading to Barbados. And he'll be in Jamaica from the 1st to the 12th, because November in the Caribbean is Diabetes Awareness Month. Am I right, Tony? Did I represent you right there?
Yeah, that is correct. Yes.
Fantastic. And Tony, we have Miss Suzette Buchanan there, is the CEO of Bellevue Hospital. Am I correct there, Miss Buchanan? Yes.
Yes, you're correct.
And Tony, we're going to talk about mental health. Just what's your last word on mental health? What's anything you got to say? You sort of made a correlation earlier about mental health and diabetes as well. What before you go, just to set the stage for the next.
Well, mental health has been part of my specialty because I went to micro teachers training college, so I taught in the high schools in Kingston. But when I came here, I moved into the probation service and became a probation officer and a senior probation officer. So I had lots of clients with mental health issues and so on. So it's another string to my bow. Probably have too many strings to the bow here. But yes, and I do maintain if your physical health and your mental health are going okay, you'll be fine. If one's out of sync with the other, then complications are gonna come in the whole grand scheme of things. And I know some people don't like in America, most people, I have lots of relatives in America, and it is said in America, if you don't have a shrink or a psychiatrist, something's wrong with you. In Britain, if you have a shrink or a psychiatrist, people say something not right about you. Why you have a shrink or a psychiatrist? And I take the view, men in particular, we're not in touch with our feelings and our emotions. We need to talk more, whether it's men only groups or going and seeking counseling and so on. The suicidal rate in Britain is very high. People are just bottling things up, keeping it all inside, and by the time it's too late, the horse has bolted and gone through the gate. So yes, I can understand why the Bellevue person is going to come on the scene now and talk more in depth about an issue which I'm also very passionate about. And that's my take. I don't want to take up the show and much more longer on the show.
Well, thank you very much, Tony, and have a good night, sir.
Right. Nice seeing you all. Take care
And
now.
say hi to the Prime Minister in Birmingham when he's here.
Nice to meet you, Tony.
All
Sylbourne,
right. Take care.
Thank you, Tony.
Sylbourne, may I just say something as a disclaimer before Miss Buchanan start talking? Is that
Can Tony go? Yeah.
Yes. All right.
Okay.
Bye-bye now.
Sylbourne, I want to do a disclaimer that I didn't ask Ms. Buchanan to come speak about the mental health clinical aspect of the part of it. So the clinical part of it, maybe we can detour to Jody. I no longer have my certification, so I can't speak as a registered clinician. I'm on the administrative side, so the clinical side of it, we probably can default to Jody, but it's about what she's doing at the administrative side. If she want to go into more in depth, then that's up to her. But I just want to put that disclaimer for her.
Well, what I like you to do as a co-host is sort of set the stage, Peter, as well.
Sylbourne, and I know we're going to talk about mental health, but before I do that, let me just say hi, darling. How are you? So we dress alike because that's part of my mental health for me to stay mental and physical. So hey,
Let's say you want to respond, please.
I love you, Vita.
I love you too, darling.
Warren,
And Vita.
So
I
that's
can't find a hookup. Vita, I need a hookup like that. I swear. I'm starting to get just like every time I come on, this makes me feel such a party.
Do some music and dance. Do some dance. So what? Ms.
and of
Buchanan-
course,
Ms.
we're going to cheers to that because part of the mental health is not abusing drugs. So we want to make sure, and that's part of the world.
Ms.
Sylbourne,
Buchanan, are you drinking? Check if Ms. Buchanan is drinking something, even though we're not seeing her.
Hello?
Are you drinking something?
No, I'm not. I'm actually at work.
Didn't Jody tell you or Lester said that you need to be drinking something as one of the prerequisites for the show?
Oh,
Stop.
I had no idea. I'm so sorry. I just had a lovely cup of unicorn soup, so I don't know if that will suffice.
Yes, that definitely will. But anyway, Vita, if you
Okay.
introduce Miss.
So yes. So what happened is that being that newly CEO for the Bellevue Hospital, I wanted to make a change in how we help and give a helping hand. And that's part of the reason when by talking to her, this wasn't explicit that one of the reasons she took this job was to make a difference. So based on what I've talked, as we talk about what she's doing and in the medical field and with sharing passion, I heard as far as just listening to her that she want to make a change, but unfortunately the money is not. It's a government funded hospital and the money is not there to do what needs to be done. And as far as what she can say, the help that she needs and what we can give and how we can support her, I'm going to let her speak about that. But it's something that very passionate to me as far as the mental health and how we can help Jamaica. So I'm going to let her talk about the aspect of what she can do. Ladies and gentlemen, Susan Buchanan.
Hello?
Hi, Miss Buchanan, yes.
All right.
Yes,
Thank
Yes,
you
we can
so
hear
much.
you.
Okay, so thank you so very much for having me. For those who don't know, the Bellevue Hospital is 150 years old, and it is the only psychiatric hospital in Jamaica and the leading psychiatric hospital in the English-speaking Caribbean. So we're an old institution. Now, what makes us different from the other hospitals or the traditional hospital is that we have two categories of residents. We have those who fall under the 100-bed hospital, that is acute and subacute. And in the next category, we have what we call our residents. So, because of the stigma that is attached to mental illness, a person's not understanding that comes, it manifests itself in several different ways. Is there's a lot of stigma in Jamaica. So you'll find out that we have residents, about over 400 residents that have lived there most, if not all of their lives. So of that 400, you might find that 90% they are aged like between the ages of 60 and 90 years old. And they'll tell you that they have been here since they have been in their teens. So even though one might look and say that we're adequately funded with a budget of 2.1 billion per annum, it is not quite so, because unlike other hospitals, we have to take care of 400 residents, and we have been doing that for over 70 years for some, and that costs a lot. It means feeding them, it means an ensuring, and it's an age population, so you have to ensure that their diet, their nutrition is on, it's top notch. We take care of medication, we take care of clothing, and just any diagnostic tests that has to be done. So you'll understand that we do spend a lot in taking care of those residents that fall in that category. Hence, I had a discussion with Vita, and I'm just calling. At present, we are doing a campaign, and it is called Jamaica's Always Been Here for Bellevue, and now it is for Bellevue to be here for Jamaica. So it is 60 ways in which the Jamaica can bless Bellevue, in 60 ways in which Jamaica can best bless Bellevue on the heels of Jamaica 60. So that's what we're looking at, and it means in whatever way possible, whether it's clothing, whether it is just coming here and giving a caring hand, hearing a caring voice. It is whatever way one can bless the hospital and bless the lives of our residents.
And she didn't mention monetary fund, but yes, that also is welcome. Also.
Yes.
Sorry, go ahead, Miss Buchanan, please.
Yeah, so whatever form the assistance can come in, whether we want to organize from overseas a day where we visit and give a helping hand, money.
Yes.
As Vita mentioned, as I said, close the way. When you think about it, it's an aged home, and it's just about it's like the normal traditional.
Did we lose Rabbit?
Oh, we lost it.
Where they have their beds, their fans, their refrigerator. Am I?
We lost him. Is that correct, guys? Did we lose Rabbit?
For a minute, yeah, she's back now.
Yeah. Keep talking, and we pick up Miss Buchanan.
Right. So it's just any form of assistance that we can get at this time. It has been a challenge for us over the years, and keep on the call. Yes. Hello.
Yes,
we can hear you.
Right. I'm sorry. I continue to get an interruption. However, right. So I am 6 weeks new to the institution, and I have hit the ground running, just walking, interacting with staff, some of which we've had for 40 years, interacting with patients, trying to get an idea of their needs. And that is what I have been focusing on, just addressing their needs, putting the needs in priority, and focusing on that at this point, and getting the institution to a place. place that we can all be proud of. And one of the things that I have embarked on is a 2-year destigmatization campaign, because as one speaker mentioned earlier on, is that there's a lot happening. The suicide rate in Jamaica is high. Coming out of post-COVID-19, you have a lot of young ones, when we talk to persons within the school environment, who are committing suicide, who are making suicidal attempts, if so to speak. And so there are so many issues. You have men that don't want to talk about what they are going through. It might just be a lost relationship. It might be losing a child. It might be death. And there's just so many happen. Chronic depression. We're talking about bipolar, whichever spectrum it might fall on, and a number of issues. We want to get Jamaica to a place where they are now talking. We want to get into the school. So even as this is the beginning of Mental Health Month, we have embarked on a number of initiatives. And one of these initiatives is actually going to the school, going to the children and giving them an opportunity to hear their voices. One of the things that we're also doing is that we're embarking on a journey to educate Jamaicans so that they themselves can identify the signs and know the steps that they can take once they have identify these signs, what to do afterwards. One of the things we're also trying to do is to dismiss that myth. Persons believe that once you sound a particular way, or you make certain comments as if you're hearing voices, they think it's associated with phobia and black magic. I do find a lot of this in the community, and we're getting that, and hence many persons are not getting the kind of treatment that they need. So even as I move forward in educating Jamaicans, that is going to cost as well. So this is just some of the projects, the initiative that will cost, that I will need support on.
Well, thank you so much for that, Miss Buchanan, and for that passionate cry from your heart on behalf of the institution and also people who are in that plight. Before I even came to the UK, there was a saying, England people mad. People used to start calling me mad before I even went on the plane. You know what I mean? There's that mentality there. Don't laugh, Peter, and don't laugh, Jody. Unless I don't say nothing.
They call you that before you went on the plane, and then after you went to England, they prove it.
But on a serious note, Vita was talking to me and about ways we can help, and we're looking at that. Sometimes we have so many clauses and so many things that we throw away easily, and people will take it for charity and give it to other countries. And we're saying that there must be a way we can somehow help. So I've held back on a few things, and Vita and I were talking about to see how we can get there. But I don't want to touch into that. I want Jody maybe to come in, because you touch on some powerful things about the school and post-COVID, because we were talking and having this show during the COVID period, and Jody was raising some fundamental point about what's going to happen after COVID. And Jody, I'll ask you to come in here. Oh, Jody, your voice. Oh no, my apologies. There was a feedback and I'm muted. No, go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead now.
Can you hear me clearly?
We can hear you now, yes. Yeah.
All right. So, Ms. Buchanan, I must, say first, congratulate you. It's not a task. My first interaction with the Bellevue Hospital was when I was a nursing student at University Hospital, and I had my rotation at Bellevue, and I was scared because as a country girl in Kingston, we sent to Bellevue, and all we heard was the bad stuff. After going there, this is like way back. I mean, I don't look as old as I am, but when I went, I was somewhere around probably 1920 when I was at nursing school. And when I got my Bellevue rotation, I was scared. And at that time, there were lots of programs that I never knew existed. And I was just going to question to see if they still exist. Like there was a word for occupational therapy for the residents. There were occupational therapy groups that would go in and help the residents. They would have entertainment, things like that. I don't know if that still exists. For those who were controlled on their medication, there'd be workshop making things. The wards were a little bit different, where you had the persons who were a little bit more not controlled on their medications and so on. That was pretty interesting to me as well. And I also went out with the mental health to some communities that I've never been to either, but meeting people in their communities and so on. So I know that the mental health department in Jamaica has been trying with the resources that they have, and I understand the plight that you are now making, because with the stigma still out there about mental health issues in Jamaica, you have a task at hand, Miss Buchanan. It's Miss, right? It's not Mrs.
No, it's Miss. It's Miss Jody. You are absolutely correct. Absolutely, it's quite
And
a task.
it's quite a task, and my prayers are going to be with you. If I can support in any way, I'll try my very best, because it is one of my passions too. These guys have heard me speak passionately about mental health throughout COVID, and even saying that we needed a national plan to deal with the mental issues that people are going to be dealing with post-COVID. We had these sessions right through COVID, and this was my cry. I wanted to hear from our government, what are the strategic plans we're going to put in place once we get out of COVID, or pre the end of COVID. What are going to be the strategic plans we're going to put in place to deal with people's mental health? And my biggest concern was, you take people, you lock them down for 2 years, dealing with issues that they would have been dealing with prior to COVID, and then sending them full on into it, with people that they were trying to escape, issues that students escaped through school, and abuse, physically, mentally, verbally abused, and now having to be locked down with that, and then be released back into a society where everybody just expected things to go back to normal. And now we're seeing everything that we spoke about in our first set of meetings, in COVID, that we're seeing a lot of violence, we've seen a lot of suicides, we've seen just people behaving inhumane towards each other, and we're not recognizing that this created a serious psychological, emotional problem in our community. And it's not just Jamaica, it's right around the world. So I don't know how we are going to do that. I still am waiting to hear on a national plan to deal with our mental health issues, even with what's going on in the schools. I watched that video of that other student just stabbed that other student, and she just, it's just little things that are happening, that people have not been able to deal with their anger, hurt, conflict resolution, problem solving, to the point where everything is leading to violence and crime. And this is because of people's fragile emotional mental state that has not been dealt with.
Yeah.
Absolutely, Jody. I think you have summed it up quite nicely. And you spoke about the national plan. We're thinking along the same vein. And while I await that national plan post COVID-19, I mean, as a premier institution, that is why I think we ought to be leading that charge. And so hence we have come up with a number of initiatives in which, when time allows me, I'll be happy to share it with you, since you've been a part of the institution before. But just to answer the question you asked earlier about occupational therapy and the programs that they have, we have scaled down immensely post COVID-19, because we still have to observe that distance, because we still have a few cases within the institution. We still have the staff that comes in, and so we have to be very, very careful. So while we have scaled down, we still do it from time to time, at a certain level. However, in this month, one of the things that we're having for the patients, and they'll get the opportunity to showcase their talent, and also to show off what they have drawn, because we have some skilled persons there. We have some real good talent. Is we're having musical therapy. We're having musical therapy, medicinal music therapy, medicinal musical therapy, and that's scheduled for the 19th day of October. And that's also something that we are looking support for. For those patients that are stable, we'll be having that on the lawns of Bellevue. They'll get the opportunity to sit and enjoy and rock and dance to some music. They'll be able to show the curtains they have made, the bread, the sheets that they have made, and to just show off their talent in many ways. Those who are performers will get an opportunity to perform, and so on. So that in itself, it's therapy. And of course, you'll remember if you okay, I think I'm talking too much. So let's
No, 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 no. You are doing
No,
great.
no,
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 we're listening.
we're
No.
drinking. We're
I get
drinking.
excited. This is passion for me. And Jody
Yes.
will remember our famous therapy is really a big part of the lives. Jody mentioned earlier that these residents they're locked up, and so not much rehabilitation.
She's
Not much
breaking up.
rehabilitation.
Yeah. I mean, like my experience with Bellevue,
Especially
guys.
during the
Oh,
COVID-19 period. Yes, the signal is bad. While we're slowly moving past COVID-19, we have a number of initiatives to get those minds working again. And so, our pond, I have rejuvenated or duck pond recently, and have the fountains and having a scheduled time, scheduling the our residents to come over to the pond, and we'll have our activities and so on. So there are a number of things that we have been doing, and I must mention that COVID-19 slowed us down a bit, but we're back on track, and we're just going out there and inviting Jamaicans to come on board. Those like yourself who have served the institution, those who have had family in the institution, we're saying, okay, come on board and let's make Bellevue nice again, you know?
Yes. And those who haven't been there yet, make sure you donate now before you actually are put in. My husband.
Can I bring in Lester? Lester, what's your take? Lester.
Camille, Tubet, I welcome you to this platform, and I love your passion, and I know that you will serve the institution well. It is a blessing to this institution that somebody of your stature and your sensitivity, because we spoke earlier in the year and you said that you want to change the outlook on Bellevue. But when you say Bellevue or mental health or insane persons or persons who are unstable, our society automatically writes them off. They're no more good. They're not useful. They're not human anymore. And what I'm hearing is that Suzette is bringing back a face, bringing back a spirit, bringing back a soul to the mental health institution and also mental health patients. Many persons don't understand the service that the Bellevue Hospital has served us. Many of us in Jamaica have family members who are affected by mental health, and the Bellevue Hospital has helped these persons. Some of them have made full recovery, some of them are still recovering, right? So it is a very important institution in our society, and we must take care, we must support this institution. It is very important that we take great care when we see young persons, school persons acting out. Jody predicted this 2 years ago when we just started having the lockdown, that when school starts back, we
Wow.
are going to have high cases of mental health, and we're going to see children acting out. Jody and
Let's. I'm going to actually go and look back for some of those tapes and pick them up. But because I do recall the
yes.
cry from Cody, but keep
So
talking.
it is decades of mental health that we have not been treating, and persons say, "Oh, something wrong with him. Go pray," and stuff like that. And so persons have lived for years gone untreated. It is mental health is more highlighted now, right? And I'm happy for that. But persons are still stigmatizing it, and we have to be sensitive and have to sensitize people and educate people, bring people awareness. Talk about it in the schools, talk about it in the church, talk about it in, in the bars and stuff like that. We who know better has to share this information. We will get pushback, but we have to stay the course and say, listen, we have to take care of our nation's mental health. When we see the type of crimes happening, especially amongst young people, it is
Absolutely.
not just arbitrary, right? We have seen when school start back recently, the first week we've had some in the region like maybe 50 fights or stuff like that, you know, and we're seeing where
55 that was
young girls,
reported.
what does reported, yeah,
Reported.
young girls are are physically harming each other, you know, and it's not something that we should just skip over and say the pitting them bad. No, we have to take care that we don't spoil our society even more. It's very important. I I coming to live in the Netherlands, and I realized that a lot of things in our society give us trauma, and we have and mental health issues, mental health. I wasn't aware of it until I came here and see how our normal functioning society, how it operates. You know, even with like standing in the line in traffic, like persons get angry when persons don't drive off quick enough at the stoplight. Here, it is not like that. It's a whole different um mental capacity here. Vita's been here and see how it is a whole different society than even in the United States. Jamaica worse. You don't feel that anger in the society here. Not saying that there's not mental problems here, but we have to take great care of our society. And one society we have. So we take care of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Ms. Buchanan, there are different strands. There are different strands that I'm picking up here now. And on a practical level, how can people get on board in supporting your plight? Okay, I understand you got the need for the intervention from the government side with the person or the expert or the medical fraternity to deal with it. But how can people help, like, while people are there, so they can have a comfortable living atmosphere or living space? I think this is like we're close. Peter, I guess what I'm trying to say is, how can we then start a process that if somebody's listening now, how can they help, or what can they be hearing that we're going to be doing soon? I think this is between Vita and Miss Buchanan to answer that bit there. How can people come on board to help?
All right. So one of the things I'd want to do is to direct individuals that would like to contribute, because we have a donation policy and you'll find that on our website, Bellevue Hospital website, and that will give you an idea. But just to say that, as I said, we have embarked on a number of initiatives to help Bellevue, and as I said, 60 ways to bless Bellevue. And it's an institution. We have over 20 wards and approximately 25 bathrooms. We have started refurbishing drives of those bathrooms. And as I mentioned before, we have a lot of infrastructural issue because the structure is a 150-year-old structure. And so we have had Corporate Jamaica and other government entity assisting us in refurbishing some of the wards and changing some of the roofs that are aged and leaking a lot. While we have done some work, there's still a lot more work to be done. So those are just some of the issues that are pressing, the infrastructural issues. And even now that we are in the middle of the hurricane season, and that will run until November 31st, I think it is, we're having a lot of rains, and so priority on our list, ensuring that they're warm and dry during this period, giving them clothing, helping, just assisting in general with just their care. If persons have food, whatever solution, we are ready to take that.
Mhm.
Right.
So,
I'm
so
looking at your
you
website.
just said that you have 25 bathrooms, but you have 400 resident and patient. 400 resident and patient,
We
but you
have
have 25 bathrooms.
it could be more. It could be more. It could be more. I'm sure it's more than 25. But
I'm just saying that
we're
because even look,
focusing. Yes.
I'm just saying that because again, being in the
Mhm.
US, most of the time you have 400 patients. You're gonna 90% of the time you have 400 bathrooms, and you have
No,
or
that's not.
something. So that's what I'm saying as far
It's
as that's, and especially with mental patients where some of them are medicated control, some are not. So, even right there is a big issue as far as helping. How can we
okay.
help? I'm making a carpenter.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sure we have a lot more bathrooms than that, but we have identified 25 at this time that we have a schedule to repair those and to bring them up to a certain standard. So there has
Right.
been ongoing work. We've gotten a lot of support from the Ministry of Health, which is our parent ministry. However, the need is so much greater than for other institutions, I must add. And as you are aware, some of our residents or clients, some are mentally unstable. It depends on the stage that you have them. They themselves also destroy these the equipment and destroy, a part of the facility as well, because some of them are at a stage where they cannot do any better. And so we from time to time do more repair and maintenance than the average in ongoing. We have ongoing repairs with toilet seats. That's an issue for us because they break and destroy them so often. So we constantly have to be replenishing and replacing that stuff.
Okay, so therefore, what we're saying is that from the website, which you can see the information there, ladies and gentlemen.
Donation policy.
I'm sorry, ma'am.
Yes, I'm sorry, sir. I was just saying the donation policy
Yes, the donation
document.
policy. I saw it a while
Right.
ago. Where did it go? Where did it go? It's on the website, isn't it? I
Yeah,
just wanted to read it.
yes, it's there. I was just reading it myself. It's quite lengthy, but it's there.
Yes,
Right. However, you can make contact with the hospital. Just call the CEO office, and
yes.
our number is 928-1382, and we can have discussions. Whether it's just coming in and have a session. I mean, we've had persons just come in and have a discussion, have talks with them, because for the majority of those residents, 400, they are cut off from the population, especially during COVID-19, and we had to limit some of the visits that we got. The majority of them, family members really don't come to visit them, and they're not welcome back in the community based on the stigmatization that we spoke about earlier on, and hence the need for us to educate. Mr. Gale spoke earlier about changing your language. That's an initiative that I am undertaking that will take money and campaigning to ensure that we use the correct language so persons are not afraid to identify themselves with this group. And this is a very large group in Jamaica. It's just that because of the stigma, we don't identify ourselves with mental issues.
Yeah, because it's saying out of approximately 800 patients at the Bellevue Hospital, over 600 have been with you for many years, and the
Absolutely.
institution and these patients depend on the generosity of donors. So donors and well wishers are what keeps you guys afloat, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I must say that I must take the opportunity to also commend the Minister of Health, because he's been focused, he has zoomed in on the institution, and he's been focusing on ensuring that mental health is priority on the list. And we have things, we're seeing things have been changing. However, there's a lot more to be done. As I mentioned before, we're one of the hospitals in Jamaica that one would say that we're adequately funded, but it is not so. As I mentioned before, it is unique because we have those persons that are residents and have lived there for years, and we have to take care of their every need, which is quite costly. So our budget goes away. That definitely eat up a large chunk of our budget. And as such, in terms of being in a position to do infrastructural work, we are limited. So two things that takes a big dive in our budget is compensation. So of that $2.1 billion, 1.2 is for compensation, and that category cannot be shifted anywhere else. So whatever we don't use in compensation, we return. The rest is for infrastructure. When we talk about our electricity bill, we're talking about a couple millions per month. Our water bill is somewhere about 7 million on average per month. So it is really a lot to take care of these residents. So it's
yeah. No, thank you for that. And I can just actually read some of these so persons can actually have an idea and get it in your head. And Vita, I think we see an answer right here. Donors of equipment or medical supplies to institutions in the public health sector should submit the list of items through the Jamaican embassy or consulate in their area. Equipment older than 5 years from the date of manufacture will not be accepted. Consideration of accepting equipment will depend on the age of the item, available of spare parts, operators, and services, obsolete or incompatible goods, equipment requiring costly infrastructure, and request for reimbursement of shipping. You know, what I'm not seeing though is stuff like clothes and stuff like that. Is
okay.
that did I look at that? It's not,
All
not
right, you're
seeing that
not
there.
okay. So in terms of clothing, we have a box that is at the hospital. Persons coming and they just donate. So they just come in and they do their drop off in that box.
Okay, okay.
Right.
Oh,
So there isn't a lot for that. If you have any donation in terms of clothing, it's just a matter of calling, letting us know. You get access to the premises, and then you do your drop off. You drop it to the laundry, and then we take care of it from there.
yes,
Question
yes. Vita,
question
any
about
sorry,
the
Jody.
sorry question about the pharmaceutical items. Are options there on the NHF program, and do you guys have an internal pharmacy there from NHF?
Yes, absolutely. Like the other hospital, we do have our NHF. We do have the pharmacy there.
Okay, so you
So
are
that takes
adequately
care of
surprised
our
with.
medication. Absolutely.
Okay,
It's
just
just
wanted to
like
say that.
for diagnostic tests, and we have our population. As for the residents, we have about 400, 500 thereabouts. And so, you have falls once you've gotten to a certain age. You have other ailments. You're required to have diagnostic tests. And we don't have that kind of facility here. So we have to outsource that. So we do have a lot. We do use up a lot of our budget goes to that, whether an X-ray, a CT scan, just all of that. So that takes a big chunk out of our budget as well.
Okay.
Um, Ms. Buchanan,
Yes,
what are it's a two-part question. One,
sure.
um, persons like myself, Sylbourne, Vita, and other persons that we are affiliated with, we have a lot of clothing items and some also other non-perishable items that would like to donate. How can we overseas collectively donate it? Because a lot of times when we are sending stuff in large quantities, customs charges a lot. Is there a facility where we can or a way that we can send it that it not at a hefty cost to us? Because Sylbourne, I know, have a lot of persons reaching out to him and giving him clothing items and other items to donate to to charity or to the Bellevue Hospital. Vita and I also have this issue also.
All right. So as I told you, I'm 6 weeks new. I'm still trying to gather that information. But what I will do, if you give me a little bit of time, in a few days, I'll be able to provide you with the information, because we've been getting a number of persons have been reaching out to us, and we just want to ensure that we follow the proper procedure. I am quite sure that there's an avenue, since it's in government is a government institution and they will be the beneficiary. I am sure that there's an avenue that can facilitate this kind of donation. So as soon as I am, as I said, I'm in the process of getting that information together. I have an idea, but just to confirm it, I'll communicate with you so that we will be able to take it from there. So as I guide you in the right direction.
And the second
Sorry,
part of my
Mr.
question
Kenneth.
is,
Hold on, let me
Mr.
just address that one quickly. The donations, guys, we're gonna have to set up a non-profit organization and register it under the Companies Act, and then get a waiver from the government. That's how that's done, because we're trying to put together a few of those too, because we have a community outreach program, and that's the way we're gonna have to go in order to accept donations. So we can discuss it after this, but
Great. That is great, Jody. So
the
we'll
organization,
definitely.
yeah.
Jody, is that
Non-profit.
is that a company set up in Jamaica? Is that what you're saying?
We have to register it with the Companies Office of Jamaica, but it has to be
In Jamaica.
a non-profit foundation that we're gonna have to set up
Let's
in order to get our.
Okay.
Right.
I'll let you know. I'll let you guys know how that's done.
Thank you, Jody.
Part two, Ms.
No problem,
Buchanan.
Mr. Kenneth.
What is the top 3 most urgent things that the hospital will do? Top 3.
Off the bat, I would say it's the repair of our roofs, the refurbishing of our bathrooms. Those are 2. And I think the third would be kind of trying to figure out. The third would be just the clothing, bed linen.
Okay.
Bed linen. I think those are very, very important.
Okay. Well, most definitely we'll have to keep this link here
Yes.
because we just don't like to have discussions of this nature, and it just become a show. Ours a show. It's a great show. It's a nice show. Want to make sure that there's a follow up to it, Ms. Buchanan.
Thank you
That
so
would be
much.
nice. That would be nice
Yeah.
if we can have her back again, Sylbourne.
Yes.
We'll give her notice and make sure that we can see her
Absolutely.
beautiful face. She's a beautiful person inside and outside. So next time we'll be able to definitely meet with her and see her. Also, I know that this is a situation where, as a female, and I know that a lot of people might not think about this, but being that it's an hospital and they have to provide clothes, they also have to provide female needs, female situation for females too. So ladies, you know that
Absolutely.
whatever you can donate as a female for a female, not to make the men uncomfortable here. So there are some female products that we use that we can donate as much as possible, because this is something that they also have to provide.
Awesome.
Miss Buchanan.
You know what? Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Yes,
I was just
Jody.
letting Miss Buchanan know. Vita, you share my contact with her.
I will.
Yeah, please
Awesome. Thanks,
share my
Jody.
contact with her, and I'm willing to help in it whichever way.
Awesome.
I
Really
can.
appreciate it, Jody. Looking forward.
I must say though, there are things sometimes that come out of Jamaica that is in your face. Because we see lots of things in our face where we don't have to search too hard. But this sort of situation is not in our face. I mean to say that it's like there's a lack of care in this area. Is that a fair statement in a way? It's not in our face. Of course, we are here now and we are bringing it alive to other people. But would that be a fair statement, guys?
Yes.
This is not in our face.
I agree, Sylbourne. And Ms. Buchanan, I'm gonna say something, and this is not your favorite, and I know you don't like this, but I'm gonna say it anyway because we all Jamaicans, we all grew up hearing this saying, is that we will tease each other that we will take somebody to the Bellevue to get like a Milo or to get something, because as kids we grew up hearing it. And it's a stigma again that we don't like, because now that we have experienced the mental situation that we're facing, I know that yes, it is real. And I could say, growing up as a Jamaican, what Lester said as far as certain trauma that we went through as children and did not even know, as Jamaicans, and did not even know that we thought it as it's norm. I can sit here and say that I've been in therapy. I have a therapist, I have a dietitian, and it's something in America that they push it in your face. It's one of the benefits that as an employee of the hospital, you have to go to therapy. You know, in Jamaica, that you don't have the money for a situation like that because you have to pay for it. And unless you are on the wealthier side, you're not going to take money to go to a therapist or go to a psychiatrist. So these are situations.
Absolutely.
Right. So these are situations that Jamaicans are facing that do I pay my money to go to the doctor, pay my money to buy food, or go to therapy? So the situation is, those are some of the situations we have to look at that we are facing. We need to make sure it's in everybody's face. We need to stay mentioning it. We need to push it to say it's real. It's one of the way of living here.
Vita is one of the funniest things, and if you permit me to, when I told persons that I was starting my job at Bellevue Hospital, they asked me if Bellevue was still in existence. They thought it had locked down a long time
Yes,
ago. And
I thought so too. Yes,
I thought so too when Vita said that.
Pardon me?
I thought so too. I was mixing it up with Jamal. Remember Lester? Unless you shake his head at me. Good time.
And if you come to Bellevue Hospital, let me
No,
tell you
serious.
something, folks. And Jody can attest to this fact. I don't know how long she was there, how long ago she was there, but I was quite impressed.
employed. I was
Right.
employed. I went to Bellevue as a student to do my rotation in mental health.
And that was how long ago?
This was probably 2005, 2007,
All right.
around
So
there.
it's been a while. But let me tell you something. I was pretty much impressed. We have a dental lab and we have a schedule where our patients every 6 months they get their cleaning, their filling. Fully functional dental lab. We might have some issues with some of our equipment. We do have a dietary center, state of the art, modern, well equipped. We have a laundry center, which is state of the art. And so it is a hospital that has been here. It's still alive. It is still taking care of Dominicans. And I'll tell you this much, you'll be surprised at some of our patients, surprised to know who are some of our patients. And we're still, as I said, the premier institution. And you have persons who have mental challenges. And when you talk to them, because I interact a lot with my patients, they will tell you coming to Bellevue, some persons who are from Upper St. Andrew, will tell you that coming to Bellevue was their choice. They said to their parents, I am not feeling well. I am getting depressed again. Take me to Bellevue because this is where I'll get the ultimate care.
right.
And
And I want to check something. I want to check something. We have Gary, our reverend, and in Jamaica, growing up in a Christian home, certain situation you will not talk about because where is your faith? You're not praying for it. So, my friend, my reverend, instead of taking medication, please pray. So he's.
Oh God.
Sorry,
Where's Gary? Gary, I think you need to come in and defend yourself.
Suzette, at this time, things sort of go a bit crazy. I don't know if Peter was drinking Crown or whatever, but at a part of the show, it goes a bit crazy after 12.
Yeah. But Suzette, one of the things too. Sorry.
Go ahead,
Suzette, one of the things I'm hoping. One of the things I'm hoping that you'd be able to achieve in all of this. Can you hear me?
Yes, man, I'm hearing you. Go ahead.
Okay. One of the things I'm hoping you'd be able to achieve in all of this is a commitment, especially from corporate Jamaica who have their social entrepreneur initiatives, is be able to have them commit. I mean, I used to work with a distribution pharmaceutical company, and if you can get them to commit to, I know food price must be ridiculous. I know, your toiletry budget must be huge.
Oh yes.
Because I'm a nurse. I am a nurse manager, and I used to work at UA. So I know that your budget cost for these things should be really high. And I know from
It's
time to
extremely
time,
high.
the distributing companies, I know that on your donation thing, I see where you had expiry dates and so on. But from time to time, they have stuff that are about to expire within 3 months that you might be able to use up within 1 month. That's
We
another
can
avenue
use
that
it
I
up
think.
in a day, Jody. We
Yes,
can
so
use it up in
um,
a day. That is how much.
right,
Yeah.
because I mean, up to the other day, there was a friend of mine, because they know that there was a high school that had a football team that they're always, getting things like Gatorade or supplement or things like that, and the things would expire in the next 3 months. They say, hey, does your athletes need Gatorade? And they would send them to the schools. So things like that, I think, are you can take as well, and
Jody,
get them to commit.
all right. I like that, Jody, and that is exactly where our 60 ways of blessing Bellevue. And we're reaching out to corporate Jamaica, and we are presenting them with 60 needs and on that list and giving them an opportunity. We have created a document, giving you a brief of Bellevue and just giving 60 ways to bless Bellevue. And so we're giving you a list of things that we use on a daily basis, as you've mentioned, toiletries and food, beverages or Ensure, Glucerne. Those are just some of the things that we spend a lot of money on. And so we have included these items on the list, and hopefully we'll be able to create a healthy partnership with Jamaica and get the assistance that we need and support. So that's one of the
Another,
campaigns. Mhm.
sorry,
Go
I
ahead.
just had another question. I know that latter part of last year, my organization got a lot of calls for persons who were elderly, and the relatives just could not deal with some of the issues they were dealing with the elderly, because I deal mostly with the elderly, who
Mhm.
were either diagnosed with a mental health condition, they wanted an institution, then we had an assisted living, and we could not take them on because we did not have, or nurses weren't trained in mental health, so we couldn't take them on. But the family members do not want to place them in a mental health facility because they're saying, the stigma that is going to be attached to that, and there are not a lot of other outlets. So rather than being admitted to a hospital, there are not a lot of other facilities that would take them on easily, and they end up in probably a drug rehab center that is not necessarily the right environment for them, and things like that. So we need to probably, as a nation, look at a nationwide solution, to, if we can't send them to Bellevue, what our other options are. And that has been my main concern.
Okay.
Thank you, Jody.
Well, want to thank you so. Let's see. Want to say something for anybody? Say
Yeah,
before I release. Okay.
Susan,
Yes.
we have a high population of homeless and unsound mind persons living on the streets of Jamaica. What is
Mhm.
the reason why a lot of these persons, from my information, that they have the opportunity to go to the Bellevue Hospital, but they are not staying there. A lot of them either check themselves out or they just leave, but they are not inclined to stay at the hospital. Why is that so?
Family support, community support, the need to educate, the need for persons to understand that also once you have been diagnosed, you have to stay medicated for the rest of your lives. And so what happens is persons come in the institution, they get to a place where they're stable and they are discharged, and then the rest is left to the community and also to the family members. And because they do not understand it, they toss them out of their homes and they end up back on the street. So it comes back to the family support. Everything comes back to the family support. Everything comes back to understanding mental illness and that it comes in many forms and teaching them to identify the signs so that we can catch it early and begin to treat whatever the problems are. So that is one of the reasons why you have a lot of mentally unstable persons on the street. Some of them were in the hospital. We got them to a place where they were stable. They went back in the communities. We have to understand once they have been diagnosed, once they have been institutionalized and they're back in the communities need to understand that they have a responsibility. The family members need to understand, the mothers, the fathers, the aunties, and the uncle, and the community in general need to understand that they have a responsibility. There's also, you mentioned earlier on your presentation about substance abuse and murder and a number of other things. The community also need to understand that they have a responsibility. And once we understand that we have a responsibility, we'll begin to change Jamaica, see less persons on the streets of Kingston or anywhere else in Jamaica. So it starts again with the education, and that's the journey we're embarking on. And this should be ongoing for the existence of Bellevue as long as I'm there as CEO.
Wow.
Well, Miss Buchanan, I want to thank you so much for coming on and sharing your passion. We can hear it in your voice and in your heart. And the most important thing, that somehow we can somehow try to partner, especially the diaspora,
Yes.
with the work that you're doing and to bring this alive to many people. Because as we shared earlier, many of us look down on Bellevue, whether we stay or not. Many of us also don't know that Bellevue exists. And as we say, it's not in our face. But what is also in our face is the mental health, which is deteriorating around us.
Absolutely.
When we keep hearing about the children stabbing each other, you think about it and say, where's that coming from? I mean, I've not seen the video of the stabbing of the recent young lady.
Let's send it to Sylbourne, please.
Yeah, but what I saw was the impact of it around the students and everything like that, and it's really shocking. And all the things that which have been said many times by I'll bring her back in. Yeah, just continue again, and yeah, and all the things which have been said. So somehow we're trying to see if we can partner with you and let this be the start of a relationship, and that other people that will hear will also lend their platform to yourself as well, as you are coming in with a fire. And we just pray that the fire won't go, because sometimes people come in with a passion for certain things, but the system crush the spirit sometimes.
Yes.
And we hope that won't happen. So definitely.
Not at all. And this initiatives like these, this is actually my first time doing an interview since I have taken up the position. And so I want to take this opportunity, and just by your interest, it has given me hope. Just to know that I'm not alone on this journey. You'll be fighting with me. And I like the words such as partnership and doing this together. So this encourages me, and I thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, for providing this platform so that I can talk to the world about the reality of mental illness. Some of us cannot identify them because we don't know the sign. But if we take a little bit more time, we'll be able to identify it, and we will begin to fix Jamaica, not just Jamaica, the world on a whole. Thank you so very much. I really enjoyed being with you and wishing you all the best.
No problem. And we bring it on we bring it on Instagram another time as well. Yes, guys.
Awesome.
Yes, definitely.
That's brilliant.
All right, thank you.
I just wanted, well, on the Camille, I just want to tell Gary, Matthew 5, verse 29 to 30.
What
We
is
went
Matthew 5,
looking
guys?
Bible a while ago.
What is Matthew 5?
Whosoever looketh on a woman to lust after her has committed adultery in his heart.
Come on, Gary wasn't that.
I'm lost.
Huh?
What is less than your name?
Susan, too much drinking has been going on at this point.
The drink my son made me.
You guys are
Cheers.
and then I hop back and leave.
Okay, Susan, have a good night, yes?
All right, take care. All the best.
Lovely to meet you,
Take care of yourself.
Susan.
Bye,
Good
Susan.
night. I'll talk to you
Mr. Kennel,
soon.
we will talk.
For sure.
All right, Peter. And we don't give Milo. Thank you. We have never given it.
I'm gonna say this to my Milo.
No.
Camille, I'm gonna drop Lester off. Let's see how much when we can get 50,000 a mile.
The money must raise now. Come here, raise up the money. Here, come here.
Come here. Hold on. If my man green, innit? Green a mile, innit?
Susan, it's a pleasure.
Camille, have a good night, Camille.
Black and got drink gone to his head.
So what is happening here now? What is
So,
Let's
Sylbourne, my friend the Reverend said, you haven't seen much of me, so my husband is defending me.
Blogging got the drink. Blogging got the drink has gone to your head.
Vita, let me read out the full verse. And if the right eye offended thee, pluck it out and cast from thee, for it is profitable that thee.
Listen, are you reading the Bible actually?
Yes!
Or is it Lester 1 verses 2?
Lester quote the Bible, Sylbourne. Lester know the Bible. Go ahead,
I don't know.
preach.
We grew up in a church,
Preach.
Keep preaching.
No.
Amen.
I have a reputation to uphold.
To be bad.
Yes.
Again, got drink gone to his head. That was funny.
Well, guys, listen. On a serious note, it was a very, very interesting discussion today, and we trust that. Jody, you're there. I think.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah. But Vita, what's your take on the last discussion with
I am so glad that she was finally able to make it, and that depends on where you are, that Bellevue do need your help, whatever you can give. If you're in Jamaica and you're a mason and you can just give your service, your labor. If you're a carpenter, you can help. If you're a businessman and you can give a couple bag of cement, all this is welcome. Blacks, whatever you can give. As a female, if you can give pad, lotion, roll-on, whatever a female need, we are asking to donate. Whatever you can, it is welcome. Whatever you can give. So we're asking, don't think of it's too small. It makes a difference. That's what I have to say.
Yeah. All right, well, guys, let's call it a wrap. I'll call it a wrap tonight. Rev, and Tony Kelly presentation was really great as well, talking about diabetes and about the education. One of the things that came out of that was the whole aspect of disciplining. So therefore, instead of having two festivals, have one.
Have one festival.
I
have a question for Mr. Gill. As far as he's so involved in the Jamaica and the people that he know, why can't he start something as far as changing the culture of Jamaica to educate the people as far as the culture? He know a lot about the culture and the way that we're raised. That's something that I think we should throw a bone there and say, hey, you can make a difference. Just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, most definitely.
You mute
Jody,
him.
last word?
You mute him, Sylbourne. He's
No. I get a feedback, so that's why. Sorry, let's say I get a feedback.
Vita, change the culture in what aspect, Vita?
Well, you talk about the culture that we have all the time as far as the way we eat or the way that we look at things, as far as the trauma that we face, that we don't know what we don't know. You and I both, we travel and see difference, that we realize that, wow, that wasn't normal. Like, it's different in the rest of the world. These are some of the stuff.
But
Just
you
pick
see,
your brain. You don't have to.
no, our the Jamaican population, be it highly educated or lowly educated or poorly educated, is very adverse to change, right? If you take one simple diet like rice, right? Rice is very bad for us as a country, plus it's very expensive. We don't grow rice, we have to import rice, right? We need to move to other types of starch or other types of staples other than rice. We need and that is grown locally also, right? Like our cassava, you know. When you look at even chicken, right? Rabbit is a healthier alternative to chicken, and persons can grow rabbit and stuff like that, and it's a healthier meat and stuff like that. And but the thing that we are adverse to changes, right? But when you look at also the cost of eating healthy in Jamaica, it's very expensive because like certain fruits and vegetables, certain
I'm
fruits and
not agree
vegetables.
with the one, Lester.
Hold on. Cost for stuff and accessibility for stuff in rural Jamaica is different than in the capital, right? And
But
remember, we have
Kingston and St. Andrew is not Jamaica. This is the problem I'm having, Lester. Is that
hold on.
whenever plans are put in place, whenever things are put in place, it is judged based on Kingston and St. Andrew, which is not Jamaica.
Jody,
I'm sorry.
what I'm saying, Jody, is that we have a population about 3 million, right? Or 3.5 million, right? Almost 1.5, about 1.5 million people live in Kingston and St. Andrew and St. Catherine in the metropolitan area, right? So that is where the greater focus is going to be naturally because that's where the bulk of the population is. What I'm saying is that you have persons who would go to the market this week and a pound of tomato is $10. We have rains Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, right? The same vendor hasn't left Coronation Market since Saturday. Now. You go back on Thursday or Wednesday, just because of the rain. That same vendor who has not got a new stock is now $150 per pound for the same tomato that she had from Saturday, right? So if you are a person who is eating healthy, right, you can't even budget properly because of the high escalated, the unstable cost of food, especially healthy food in Jamaica, right? And when you look at the bad foods, it is way more accessible than good food. That is the fact. You can't go around that. It is accessible.
Fair enough. But this is my thing though. What we haven't learned to do though, Sylbourne, and it's one of the things that I have always said, especially to parents who are saying that they are not healthier options, or the healthier options are more expensive. We are willing to go buy a pack of Lay's for our kids rather than buy an apple for snack or an orange for a snack. They are more likely to go buy a Lay's. They are all the same price. And I'm telling you this dollar for dollar as a mother who feeds children. I have boys. You getting what I'm saying?
Yes.
They are all the same price. You'd rather go in the supermarket and pick up a Lay's rather than buy an apple or an orange. So is our mind?
In the UK, in the UK, the same discussions they're having about just muted essence. I'm getting a feedback from it. In the UK, that's the same thing they're talking about. The fast food, the chicken shops make it so easy for people to just buy the local chicken shops at the corner, much easier, quicker than people cooking properly. And cooking, I believe, is something which can work, but time again, people all the time.
And the access to healthy food too, because I have seen where, and my staff do it all the time because we've been trying to get everybody on a healthier path because we're in the healthcare business, and if we are not taking care of ourselves, how can we influence our clients to do the same? And I've seen where people will spend $1,200 to buy a box lunch, and the box lunch can serve 4 people, and then one going to sit down and eat it, and we can get a whole plastic container that is just about the box of the same size box, fruits with an assorted array of fruits for less than $1,000, and we
Yeah.
choose to go buy the food with all the whole rice, half a box of rice and peas, one little tooks or tooks. I wouldn't say toops.
Choopsie.
One little
Chups,
toops,
chups.
of vegetable and a whole box of meat that can literally, I've tried it. The whole box feeds 3 people, and one person is sitting down. Like if you are eating according to the portions meal,
So
and you're
portion
supposed
is
to be
portion
having
is an option, yeah.
portion is very important. And when they know when if they are ordering food for me, even if they feel like I want to have a fried chicken day, they know they have to give me vegetables and rice and peas. You understand?
Yeah.
But that is my personal choice.
But
So,
but,
but
but
many are
Jody,
not
Jody,
making that option.
but Jody, yeah, I hear you, and you have a point up to a point. When we
And
look,
next week we're gonna finish it.
when we look at stability of food prices, right? As I said, during the rainy time, a pound of rice is $10. During the dry time, a pound of rice is still $10. Now,
Nah.
now we see where there's a difference in prices at the marketplace, right? When there are certain activities going on, right? So imagine a poor woman in the inner city have 4 children plus herself. So she's providing for 5 persons, right? And you're going to buy vegetable, fruits and vegetables. This comes at a cost of a very unstable and aggressive cost. Because this week on minimum wage, a little bit above minimum wage, she pays $2,000 for the meal for the week. And then a few days later, it has escalated to $3,000 or $4,000 from her
No,
stable pay.
it's way more than that for the week. There's no way
No,
that
guys,
happens in Jamaica
I
right
saw
now.
Guys,
But
Sylbourne
I'm
mute.
just saying.
Sylbourne muted us, and then after explain to Shelley, say, I'm trying to wrap it up. I'm trying.
yeah, please. Yeah, try wrap it up, Peter. Wrap it up. Wrap it up.
So, guys, I think Sylbourne have to go. And as a married woman, I understand. So, Sylbourne.
Thank you, Peter. And Gary wants to do the benediction. Hey, hold on, is it? Hold on. Who wake up God?
You're troubling his, you're talking about his wife. That's what wake him up.
Hold up. Who wake up God? Gary said, hold on.
You
Who
say
wake
hi
up
to
God?
his wife.
Yeah.
Let's you don't have to say let's you muted, sorry.
I
Let's say you want
I was planning to come and donate something on the sermon tomorrow, but I got hold back.
It's just,
Gary says Judy. Gary says Judy. Anyway, guys, listen. It was a good one. Reverend said the benediction. He said, Jody, you need to give the benediction, Jody.
He's saying, I need to give the benediction.
Yeah, you give the benediction. Yeah.
Do you know what? I would rather not do a benediction, but rather a prayer. And this is something that I personally feel like Jamaica needs right now. I think I said this, and somebody was saying it's not the church's responsibility, and I said it back in COVID. I'm going to say it again. I think for a country that has so many churches, there need to be more responsibility in the churches, because that's where people look to for hope, and they've been very silent in a lot of the things. The crime level, the level of mental instability that's happening, and while I'm not saying it's the church's responsibility on a whole, but they play a huge role. And I want to pray for the families that are hurting in Jamaica, the families that have lost loved ones. The last couple of weeks, I was looking at the top 10 stories for the month of September today on Gleaner, and they were all crimes. One where 4 children were killed, one sister was, 4 boys were killed. And I look at them and I think of my son. I pray God's love and peace and comfort the family members, those two girls' families. God's love and peace be with them and comfort them. There's just so much going on in Jamaica, and we need, honestly, to not just be praying, but think of practical interventions that can save Jamaica. So it's not a meditation, but a prayer.
Yeah. And also that young boy who got killed by his dad.
By his father. I am thinking of the mental health of his father. I mean, people are saying he needs to answer questions as to why he would take that action, but he mentally, I cannot imagine what he's going through mentally and emotionally right now as a father. I don't know the circumstances, but I'm just saying that could be hard, that you would kill your own child and to deal with that.
And also the two brothers. I think they were funeral today as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with the father in Hellshire, friends of mine who were also bloggers are affiliated with the family. Several persons who are very close to are affiliated with the family, and so I've received messages, between them and stuff like that. The son actually was outside at 3 a.m. coming inside the house. The father thought that he was still in the house, so he thought it was an intruder. So his psyche is that he's not thinking that it is his son. It is a very sad situation. I've heard a lot of persons who are not professionals in terms of law enforcement, in terms of firearms and stuff, weighing in on it. And it's very, very nasty, very sad. A father has killed his son, and it's a very sensitive matter. This is something that no parent wants to face, to bury their child at such a sensitive age. But the child was
but also to be the one who killed the child.
Exactly.
Even though,
exactly. Yeah. So he heard the door pull, and by the time he came around, the door was pulled, and then his son came from another angle, and him let out some shots. In the time, the atmosphere, the culture, that the environment that is happening in terms of crime, this is highly possible to happen again.
Yeah.
Highly possible to happen again. Just on the atmosphere that we're living in now in Jamaica. It's a very sad situation. Moving on, what we are seeing is a desensitizing of life. We are bombarded with crime statistics, with crime, with death, with mayhem, and it doesn't feel horrible anymore. It doesn't feel sad anymore. It's like another one.
Another one, yes. That's the kind of thing. And it doesn't allow people Lester, to grieve properly. I was talking to some students, because we had, for some reason I always get some cases at my institution where with my very own students, and we never pay attention to warning signs sometimes of the people who are going through mental health issues, because we are told people that, it's okay, it's gonna be okay, you need to spend time praying. Instead of dealing with the actual issue, we try to tell people, we did go through that too, so it's okay. But what I try to do at my institution is to say to my nurses that I'm training, have dealt with your mental, psychological, emotional issues. There is no way you can care for someone and be able to provide them with the care that they need if you are still dealing with issues. So a lot of the first part of our training is just dealing with their personal issues, how they communicate, how they deal with their grieving, how they deal with their stress. So when they're faced with other people who are going through some things that they can actually deal with it, because hurt people cannot help hurt people, and people who are in pain can't help people with pain.
And also, there was another case again. The father who took his child took the child to work and left the child in the car, and the child died. That's what that happened in Jamaica.
And there was another one with the teacher who did the same thing in a short space of time.
I would love to know how these persons are now. Are they being treated mentally? You know,
the policeman is charged with a second degree murder, I think, for the child.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, the one that left the infant.
Yeah. They're telling me.
Oh my goodness!
He's telling her it's time to go off. I know him. Is he the one that was telling you the manager?
Oh,
he's the manager.
Wow! So handsome, Brody. So handsome.
He's telling me I'm here too long.
Okay, yeah, you're right about that. Here too long.
I've been trying to wrap up for a minute now, so I could go spend time with my husband, but everybody keep talking.
Yeah. Okay. All right, guys. It was a pleasure. Mr. Jordan Marian, what's his name?
Ashanil.
Ashanil. See you later, Ashanil.
Ashanil.
All the best, Jody. All the best. All the best.
Same to you guys.
Like everyone.
And I want to say good night to the Reverend.
I need to go and spend time with my wife. So that. Hello, Ella. All right.
Good night,
you guys. See you later. So, Reverend, say good night all as well. We got the benediction. See ya. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining tonight. It's a good show, good discussion, and see you around next week. And peace out and God bless. Why is everyone laughing? Well, we're always laughing amidst everything, you know. Peace out.